Well, while you're doing,
We're going live. Yeah, okay, we've been messed up. I had a technical issue. We were not even being heard, dude.
oh no. Well, good because
Right.
we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff that had nothing to do with cartoons.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, if you're here, sorry we're starting late. But what I just no, I this is goddamn StreamYards. Ugh. If you guys are hearing me now, Eastland, you
Put a
guys,
one in the chat. Put a one in the chat.
yeah, all one of you, all three of you, whatever. Hey, Paulie, what's up, brother? Oh, Paulie, hey. But no, look, it was a Jesus Christ. All right, now they can. This thing's a bit of a lag here. So if you guys are hearing me, I hate myself more than life itself, and that's pretty bad because I had a crappy glitch with this thing, and I wasn't paying much attention other than when you and I were talking because I was doing it before I came, before you came on because I'm still loading pictures and crap, you know.
Uh,
Oh boy. Well, anyway, good.
well, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that the first Saturday morning cartoon was actually that of a superhero?
Oh yeah, that would
Right?
be what was the cat? What was that cat's name? Crazy, not crazy cat. Was with a cat. What was that cat?
Nope. Nope,
No.
nope, 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 nope. The first ever Saturday morning cartoon, to my knowledge, is I've seen it recorded. Now, somebody out there can debate
Oh,
me, and that's fine because I'm only going by the information I have. There may be better information out there, but the first Saturday morning cartoon was a filmation cartoon, and it was their foray into Saturday morning, which was Superman.
that was the very first Saturday morning cartoon. I thought there was some before that.
Not to my knowledge. There have been cartoons that came on, like the
Oh,
Flintstone,
oh,
that came on during prime time, but not for Saturday morning for kids. That, to my knowledge,
okay.
the Saturday morning for
Oh,
kids started with Superman.
okay. Well, let me get since I didn't start right. I have no start. So let me try to sort of start, everyone. Thank you for those who are here. Eastland's here. Well, I don't know. I think Latino's Stat My Buddy's still here, and Captain Trek is here. Hey, man. Um, no, well, no, Latino Slant, Paulie Popeye was actually a theatrical cartoon before it went on television. But anyway, that Filmation Superman, whether it was first or not, it was the first superhero cartoon made for TV. There was a Superman cartoon made for theatrical, of course, by the Flashers. But welcome to Clobberin Times, issue number 13, actually issue number 713. I am, my name is Clobberin Times now. I just took the the mic and all that stuff off there. I'm here with the great Mark C, as he is known. Mark C is well known because you hear his name all the time if you go to any of the big streams. The big fish out there, Doomcock, Nerdrotic, EVS, RB. I saw you over at RMB today. I saw you were over there.
Yep.
And you have a lot of fun on all these streams. We all do. They're all great. And Robert Meyer Burnett, love the Burnett work. He's got a good one there.
I have a love-hate relationship with Robert.
Yeah, same here. The things when he gets political, I'm like, oh, dude. But other than that, I love his knowledge.
That's okay. I decided to pick one stream of his where I was just going to go, you know what? I'm not going to let it go this time. I'm not going to just take a jab or say something and back off. I'm going to start hammering it home, and I'm not going to let it go. And then all of a sudden, he got a tidal wave of about 10 of us that were it just became it went from discussing whatever it was we were discussing to nonstop political, and it had everything to do with the fact that for every stream you couldn't get away from it. It got to be a point where it's like, oh, give it a rest, because you say it every stream and a half for months of it's basically blaming COVID response on the Fed and on Trump, and I'm just kind of like, whether you want to throw the blame that way or not, and I'm not saying you don't have the right to do so, but when you have 350 million people in 50 states, then it's up to each individual governor of each state to be towing the line, and the Fed should just be there for backup for the states. And what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? That's what the Fed should be doing. Each state should be handling this, and it just drove, at least that's my feeling on it. And for him to just hammer this all home every single day, I couldn't take it no more. So finally, I just made it very political, and to the point where he was so uncomfortable, he hasn't brought it up since.
Are you talking about Twitter?
No, no, no,
Or
no, no.
show?
I let he spouts on Twitter whatever he wants to spout. I will debate him on Twitter, but I'm not going to sit there and dogpile him with him on Twitter, because that's not what it's there for. But that day he got dogpiled politically
on the show,
on his own show, and to the point to where he was getting frustrated, and was just like, you could see it in hearing his voice, and it was done. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. And it's like, good, because we're tired of dealing with it too. We just want to talk about movies here. Let's not get political anymore, because half your audience is pissed.
But if you are going to get political on any of these geek streams, if it's something to do with tied in with geekness, where it's SJW crap, like Gary and Doomcock and a lot of these others fight, and that's fine. And we're not big enough to really mess with that stuff right now anyway, because but that's great that they're doing that. But I don't care whether I agree with RMB or not. I wouldn't tune into his show. I know he puts tweets out there. That's what I was talking about, his politics, his tweets. I wouldn't really turn into his show to hear him do that either. So, I don't blame you for taking him to task for us. Like, man, that's not what I signed up, because the knowledge of the man is extraordinary. So
I think he's very knowledgeable, but I think when it comes to certain aspects, I don't even think it's a case of him turning a blind eye. I think he's just looking to see the best in people who really don't have the best in themselves to give.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That's the best way I know how to describe it. But that can go on either side of the aisle. So let's get back on cartoons, damn it.
Well, cartoons, folks. Back on cartoons, or start on cartoons, since apparently I started out with not being on the air for a while there. I like them, basically. Good, see you later. No. Cartoons, as I was saying earlier when I was dumb enough not to be being recorded, what I love about cartoons is, to me, they are the close cousin or brother, sister, what have you, of comic books. And I've said this for a long time. I actually really do like some comic book films, especially over the past couple of decades. Not so much before that, really. There weren't very many for me. But nevertheless, I'll take a great animated series of a character that I love any day. Like if you told me, hey, you could have a really good, I don't know, Superman movie or a good Batman movie, I go, sure. But if you said, or you can have 5 seasons of a really good animated of those characters the way you want it, I'm probably going to go, I would rather have the TV show. I would rather have the animated than one little 2-hour movie that's pretty good. Just me. I know that's not a majority opinion, probably not a popular opinion. That's fine, because some of the best things with these characters have been done in animation for me, especially on television. Now, and as I was telling Mark earlier when I thought I was being recorded, our criteria here basically is superhero shows that are characters who started in comic books first. So none of the ones that, like, if it were just, but anyway, you get that. And we'll touch on a little bit some of the DC animated films, which I used to like, but they really went bad in my opinion. But mainly TV series and stuff like that. I'll even count off a top 10 thing later. But RR's here. There you go. Yes, well, and that's a good one, RR. That's exactly right. Cartoons are moving comics. I mean, they're close cousins, and I love that. Some of the best iterations of some of these characters are done in cartoons for me. Obviously, they needed comics as their groundwork in a lot of cases, which they are. A lot of these people who have made these shows, and they're from like the 90s on up, the best ones in my opinion, grew up loving comic books, and a lot of the things they do in those shows are based upon comic books that they read. Absolutely. Being primary example, most people like to cite, and we'll try to start with it, talk with a little bit, is, of course, Batman the Animated Series, which for me is still like the gold standard in terms of a character interpreted so well on television in an animation that in some ways a better, consistent, in terms of volume and quality treatment of Batman, and I'm including comic books. There have been some good runs here and there, but I'm someone who doesn't like a lot of the modern crap, so that's probably me. You might like some stuff after that. but there've been some short runs of some great stuff, like Neil and Adams and Englehart and Rogers and what have you, of Batman for sure. But if I pick something that that really does the character the way I want him in terms of the Dark Knight Detective, the Batman animated series, which was 4 seasons, I believe, and I had some issues with some episodes. That would be it for me. I would be like, man, that may be the best Batman stuff done, or certainly right up there with it. And yes, it's not a comic book, but it is in a way, in a sense.
Batman,
so,
that series is so influential and so good. Okay, and when I talk about cartoons, I mean, this is just me personally, especially superhero. 90 is when you mentioned 1990. That is really kind of telling, because for me, it's everything that was before 1990. That's like the line. That's the dividing line, and then it's everything after 1990. And yeah, I mean, we started with a bang. I mean, Batman the Animated Series was I remember watching it on Leather Wings the first time when we first got the Fox network. Yeah. And I just sat there and remember seeing we were getting ads for it on other stations, so that tell your cable provider to pick up Fox network so you can watch Batman the Animated Series. And just looking at the promo for it looked really, really cool, and it's like, I really want to watch this. And then finally we got it here, and I'm sitting there watching on on Leather Wings, going, "Oh my goodness, somebody actually did this right." I mean, like really right. And they did it so right that we're now almost 30 years removed, getting 28 years from the start of Batman the Animated Series. I still, to this day, cannot read a Batman comic book and not hear Kevin Conroy's voice in my head. Every time I read a Batman comic, it's his voice that's coming out of Batman as I read it. That's something special. I mean, honestly, because there have been some great voices even since then to play Batman, because Andrea Romano is just that good of a voice director. But Kevin is so ingrained in my head as Batman that I can't get away from it at all, ever. And that's fine by me. I have no problem with that. If that's the voice of Batman till the day I'm dead, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he is so good that, he will always be that voice for me as well. And I'm including a show that I love just as much, which I'll talk about later. We're not going to get into it right now. Batman Brave and the Bold. I thought Dietrich Bader did a hell of a job on that, but nobody will touch Kevin. And and like a lot of people, I was fortunate enough to meet him once. And Kevin Conroy was a pretty nice feller and an awesome dude. And like everyone calls, some people just call him the voice of the Bat, because that's what he is. And he's done the voice in other things, of course, of Batman. But the show, man, and well, of course, the Justice League cartoon, and of course, a few other cartoons here and there, and the video game. And whenever Kevin Conroy comes around, man, it's astonishing.
Well, that's the thing about the Batman the Animated Series was, at some point, it's not just the Batman animated. I mean, you can take any one particular show that's part of that and separate out and say it's its own thing, because they've kind of treated it that way. Except for maybe Batman Beyond. That one would be a little tough. But you look at the Superman animated series, also amazing. Justice League Unlimited, both amazing. Batman Beyond, amazing. Some have better episodes than others, but still, it's very consistent all the way across the board. And to know that everything, especially within the Justice League, they made it all tie together. And then you just sit there and go, these guys are geniuses. I just, I mean, if this was DC, if this is what I had to read every month, I would be in heaven. Because when they design these characters, they really, we talked before about the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez style guide from '82, and even though they are Bruce Timified, they're still pulling from those designs, and you just sit there and go, why can't everything be like this?
Yeah, dude, true, man. It's just, look, dude, and I was really not that thrilled leading up to that when it originally was announced. I was like, I don't know, going with this style so much. I think I would like to see it look more of I didn't like the cartoony style that much. Now, it became so good he didn't care. But I was always like, I don't know, what if they got another way? But I was at I think it was, I don't know if it was called Dragon Con at the time. It was like around 92 when that first showed. And as you mentioned, Wings, that was the only one that the show was just about to debut the next week. And they were showing at one of the tables, I don't know, it was a DC table or whatever, had it and was showing it there. And I remember like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this. They did a special debut of the two-parter, The Cat and the Claw, the Saturday morning after that, I believe. But then it was on weekdays forever. And of course, recorded them all, man, and never missed it. I was working at the time, but I always set the recorders. And, oh, man. So good. So many great episodes. I don't even know where to begin just in terms of how many wonderful episodes there were.
Dude, they was it about 3 or 4 years ago? They went back and remastered all those before they put them on Blu-ray, and the remaster job they did on that show was unbelievable. Those shows are so crisp; they look brand spanking new. There's no cell dirt, there's no nothing. The colors pop. It's almost like watching a whole different show. Just really? How clean they got. Yeah, if you have DC Universe, it's the remasters that they're running on there.
Oh, good. Okay. I need to
but yeah, so it looks like a whole different show than what you remember back in the 90s. It's cleaner now than what it was when it was originally broadcast. The cells are just super, super clean. I'm just beautiful.
Yeah.
And they've also they've recently remastered Batman Beyond as well. They still haven't done Superman. If you're in the chat, you have to tweet at Warner Brothers to get them to Warner Brothers Animation to get them to remaster Superman.
Yeah, well, maybe they will. It's I don't know though. It would be nice to see them do that. That's for sure. On the animated series, I remember I didn't warm up to the 4th season when they made all the changes, although I liked the Black Bat, don't get me wrong. I wasn't too big on, it was okay, I guess, Nightwing and bringing in Timmy Drake and Batgirl in the Batcave aggravated me, but there were still some good things in the series, good episodes. It was, I got used to it. It was fine. But on Superman, the animated series, well, we'll talk about that a bit later because I like it now. The time I was not thrilled with it. I have a lot of problems with it.
Well, this goes back to the conversation you and I originally had on Superman. What is your Superman? Is your Superman pre-crisis or post-crisis? If you're Superman's post-crisis, this is the show for you. If your Superman is pre-crisis, well, you're probably not going to be quite so happy with it.
Well, even Byrne's Superman was not that much of a wimp. I'm sorry. Look, I'm not a big fan of Alex Ross as a guy, but I agree with him when he went to Denny and Tim and said, dude, when we were looking at Justice League, he said, I like your cartoons and all, but man, you make Superman look such a wuss, and he's always getting his ass handed to him at the drop of a hat. Please, for the love of God, stop.
The first season of Justice League was bad. It really was. But
I like
I did too. But yeah, no, Superman. I mean, because there's no villain that they fight within the first season of Justice League that Superman just couldn't handle on his own, really.
But the same on the TV show. On his own shows like that, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got to depower him enough to make it look like a threat of some sort.
We won't get into that lengthy debate, but I don't agree with any of that. They make depowering Superman is not the way you go. Get a good writer and write it where you have someone that could do interesting stories with him, with his powers. You don't have to depower him. You have to give him a worthy adversary, I think. So.
Yeah, I will say this about the Superman series. Him and Electricity never did seem to get along at all.
Look, if you touched him with a 9-volt battery, he would fall down like a baby. God, damn it! They drove me. Look, and by the way, I really like the show now. I went back, but it took me a long time to go back because I'm like, Jesus H. Christ, Superman is an invalid on this show. He got his ass handed to him in every episode. Sometimes by silly robots, other times by things even less, menacing. And I'm like, look, I understand. Look, I love the Fleischer cartoons too. Okay, and I know they were going for that, but I'm like, come on, man, he's still Superman. And then he'll like come back at the end and he'll get all powerful for a second. I'm like, you don't sell it that way. I cannot stand inconsistent use of powers. It's a geek fanboy superhero fan pet peeve of mine. I fucking hate it. And Denny and Tim on that show, man, I remember a buddy of mine told me a story. He was watching that cartoon one day. It was years and years and years ago. He said, and his dad walked through the room. His dad was familiar with Superman, but not that much. And he walked through, and Superman's getting his ass handed to him, probably like a little old lady or something. I don't know what it is. I'm just kidding. But I mean, he goes, is that someone using kryptonite on Superman or something? He goes, no, Dad, he's always getting his ass kicked in the show. I love the show. And it really was good. But for a while there, it took me a while to warm up to it. I had to go back a few years ago for my BTR show. I was challenged. I said, look, if you need to go give it a better chance, and we'll review it when you do it. I went and binged it all a couple years back. And after I'd seen out sparsely, and I really, really liked it. We did a countdown of our episodes, and I had a good time. I had to make allowances for that, fanboy crap I'm laying on you now. But oh boy, there were times, man.
I will say this: there's 3 seasons of that show, and the 3rd season was by far the strongest because that's when they brought in the fourth world, and once you brought in the fourth, you brought in Darkseid and his minions into the show, then it seemed like he at least had people to face that were strong enough to at least cause him this kind of trouble. There's the 2-episode 2-parter called Apocalypse Now, which ends with the death of Turpin, who is modeled after Jack Kirby. And this episode took place, it was basically a memorial episode to Jack. And
it was great.
I looked at that, and there's some animation inconsistencies in the show, as far as which animation house was handling what episode and what have you. But story-wise, I thought that was when it was at its peak.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a great one. There were a lot of great ones. Look, if it's Metallo or the Parasite or Darkseid, I don't have a problem with him knocking Superman around. It was just like Livewire, okay. But I mean, she could blast him a couple of times, but for God's sake, man, he's Superman. Be Superman. I don't know what it is. Again, it was a complaint that does not ruin the show. At the time, though, I remember in the very first episode, he's straining to save that airplane. I'm like, oh, okay, good God. But a fine show. I hope, like you do, that they remaster it someday. Let's say some hellos real quick here. Mando Mark, a new friend of mine that I made the other night over at Loki's great podcast. Had a wonderful time talking with him and Loki and 24/7 about the history of the Batmobile. That's a fun topic. And really enjoyed that. I see that you're here. Hey, Mando, thank you for popping in, man. Appreciate it. And some of these people are liking these episodes that you're talking about there on Superman. The Denny and Tim verse, mostly Tim, but I know it's Paul Denny that wrote should say Dini. I don't know. That wrote a bunch of episodes. Of course, we know it's Batman Animated Series and Batman Beyond and Superman Animated Series and Static and Justice League International. To hell with me. Unlimited. Ugh. Damn you absent-minded butthead. All great stuff. They did most of the great stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight in terms of the best. We're going to switch gears for a second here. We're going to talk about some of the let's talk a little bit about some of the earlier stuff for a minute, because those I mean, it's low-hanging fruit how good these shows are. Let's kind of touch on some, because you touched on earlier the Filmation stuff, the Filmation Superman, for example.
Yeah, well, I mean, for DC, through the 60s and 70s, I mean, well, it's nice that you had Filmation, who was doing straight up superheroes, individuals, and then you had Super Friends, which was, let's try to get them all together and do Justice League without calling it Justice League.
Yes, and my God, what a memory for me, Super Friends. I will never forget Well, of course, these Filmation cartoons were first. It was Superman. I'm sorry, it was Superman, Aquaman, Action Hour. You had some of the other DC heroes and stuff. You actually had well, there were a few. I didn't get to load all the pictures yet because I'm an idiot.
There was a Teen Titans one. There was
there was a Teen Titans one. There certainly was.
I believe there was a Flash.
There was a Flash, Green Lantern.
Was there a Hawkman? Did a Hawkman have a cartoon?
Hawkman had one. They all had one. They all
Except
had
Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman never had one by herself.
No, but there was the Atom, Green Lantern, Flash, Hawkman, and of course the Teen Titans. But they only had like one or two or something of those. And yeah, they were, and there was a Justice League one, I think. But they didn't get to do those for very long. It was mainly the Superman one, and it was Superman, Aquaman, Action Hour. I remember when I was a kid, it was the first time I ever saw Superman, and Aquaman, of course. After it was Adam West Batman, then I saw that. Then later Fantastic Four and cartoons and such. But yes, it was the Filmation stuff was early. Like for example, here's here they are right here. This picture will load. I had some issues loading stuff earlier, and I was kind of I was having a technical problem earlier. But yes, so they all had one. There's a DVD, or maybe even a Blu-ray now, called DC Heroes from the Filmation ones now, and they have a nice documentary.
Yeah, it's been released twice. Yeah, and then after Superman, you actually had Superboy with Crypto. That was a Filmation cartoon. That one went on for a good while.
You did, and I love it.
And then you had the Batman and Robin one with the voices from the Batman and Robin who wound up doing them again over on Super Friends. And that was the first iteration of the Filmation Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Well, there was also a fun fact connection between believe it or not, between the Superboy cartoon from Filmation and that's where I fell in love with Superboy and Crypto in that cartoon. And Batman animated series.
Oh,
the voice actor who did the voice of Superboy, Bob Hastings, also did the voice of Commissioner Gordon on Batman animated series.
I did not realize that Superboy was Bob Hastings. That's cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, go for it.
You're talking that same time period. Over on the Marvel side, you had very much like the DC stuff. You had a few Captain Americas, a few Incredible Hulks. You had a few Iron Men, a few Thors, and a few Submariners. But the one that cemented itself that everybody knows the theme song to and became the most popular was the Spider-Man 67. That was the standard for Marvel cartoons for a good long while. And the voice actor who does the voice of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, in the show, if you watch the MCU version, Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie, the owner of the pizza parlor in that movie is the voice actor of Peter from that old cartoon.
Yes, I always forget the guy's name. He's still alive, incidentally, I think.
Yeah, I think he's still kicking.
Yeah, still kicking with us there.
Unfortunately, Mr. Hastings is no longer with us.
No.
We lost him. We lost him and Ephraim Zimbalist, who did Alfred on the Batman animated series. They're both gone.
Yeah. Mando Mark, I'm sorry you're feeling bad there, man. Yikes, dude. Sorry about that, dude. There we go. What do we have? We had RR's always got cool stuff to say. RR, great to see you. Again, everyone I'm here with, I call him the Great Mark C because he won't let me call him anything else. Just kidding. He's humble. We're just messing with him. But you all know him as that. He gets called that quite often by Gary and Doomcock. Or is it Gary? Which one calls you that? One of those.
Mostly Gary.
Gary.
No. Anytime that Doomcock was hovering about 18,000 subs, and he had been there forever. And I'm like, this is the most entertaining guy on YouTube, especially in gig space. I mean, if you enjoy his content, he does a live stream on Fridays that lasts 6, 7, 8 hours. And it's like, how can you not appreciate the content this guy's doing? Why isn't he doing bigger numbers than what he is? And And I started to pay attention to the other guys. And I'm looking at Gary over at Nerdrotic and seeing that he has this secondary channel called Neurotic Live. And even though he would stream on his normal channel, he'd take his live streams off and he put them on the secondary channel. And even over at Geeks and Gamers, I was noticing that they were pulling. Jeremy was taking the live streams and pulling them off the channel, and that you would have to kind of hunt him down or have to get with him on Twitter to get a link to it, because he didn't want to keep them up, because to keep him on the channel was hurting his numbers. And so it kind of clued me in that apparently doing these long live streams for him was hurting his sub count, because it was going against the algorithm. And so basically, I said, look, man, I just sent him a DM one day and said, look, man, I really think you should be doing a hell of a lot better, because I'm looking at that point, Gary and that Star Wars girl were starting to blow up, but he was still hovering at 18,000 subs. And I'm like, you should be blowing up with these other two cats for sure. You know, the fact that you're still hovering, this bugged me. And so I've been doing some research. And what I've discovered is that as great as you are at live streaming, it's hurting your channel. And I said, what I think you need to do is to create a secondary channel to put your live streams on, so that it doesn't continue to hurt you, because it's not helping your algorithm at all. And lo and behold, and he says, you know what, I think I'm going to take your advice on that. And he wound up talking to Gary and Jeremy along the way as well, and the same people that I was pulling my information from. And as soon as he did, his sub count started going through the roof. And so now every time I super chat on there, he wants to bring it up, and it's like, dude, I got you on the ball rolling, but you're at what, 150,000 subs, or almost what, higher than that now. And I said, you know, coming up on 200,000 subs. We left my my contribution to your channel got left a long time ago, sir. This is all you now.
Well, you helped. That's cool. That's excellent. No, I mean, that's great. I'm glad you did that for him, because he's amazing. We're all glad about that, because he's a great dude. And so he and Gary both doing a great job. So love their stuff. And yeah, man, cool. Greatness for sure. Where am I?
Now back to cartoons, damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thor and Iron Man cartoons, original themes were horrible. Oh, well, honestly, the Mando Merc listening to those themes. I love the Spider-Man one. I love the Captain America one. As bad as the Thor, Iron Man, and even the Submariner themes were, anyway. Not. Yeah, I do too. But nothing was as bad as the one for the Hulk. That was terrible. Oh, the Hulk thing was just god awful.
Doc Bruce Banner, yeah. You know what, Mando Mark? I love him anyway. One of the things that just made me bust out laughing more than anything is in 2008 when I went to see the first RDJ Iron Man film, the background music in the opening segments when he's at the casino, something you may or may not know, was the Iron Man theme from that old cartoon.
That was when they were doing the little montage speech on the video screen before he gets the award. I think that was the thing. That's when you're talking about, correct?
Right. Well, that and right after that, when he's in the casino.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was this jazzy little, version, and people are looking at him like an idiot. What is he laughing at? I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that.
Nothing made me happier, even though whether you like the films or whether you poo-poo on the films of the latest version of Spider-Man, but Michael Giacchino to take the old Spider-Man film, the theme, and then have it played during the Marvel logo at the beginning. It warmed my heart. It really did.
The best thing about Spider-Man: Homecoming is some of that music, especially that what he did that, because I don't like that movie very much. But yeah, that was great stuff. After the Filmation cartoons, everyone, I have this very vivid memory of being somewhere around maybe like 9 years old, I believe, when Super Friends was going to first debut. And if you were a kid back then, you'd know that the networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, the Friday night before their new fall Saturday morning lineup would debut. They would have like whatever popular people were on the network at the time on whatever shows they had would do like a special showing clips, advertising their new shows coming up. And as a result of that, I think it was the Brady Bunch. I was on ABC at the time. Whoever it was, I know one of them was a Brady because I could be getting mixed up, but whatever it was, because it was on ABC, I know that Super Friends was on ABC. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, Super Friends. So I made a big old tent and camped out in front of the TV that night, waiting for the next morning. Could not wait. My brothers, I wanted them to get, they didn't even, they were going to, I think they were with me. I can't remember now. In my tent, all I know is I had like a big tent made out of sheets and stuff, and couldn't wait. Got up the next morning, got a bowl of cereal, and did what you did back then. Saturday morning cartoons, what a joy of life. The children today will never know. I mean, you could get up on Saturday morning and watch the cartoons. It's not the same deal.
No, as a matter of fact, in 70, I saw it for the first time in 76. And first time I remember seeing it, I was in St. Petersburg. We just buried my grandfather who lived in St. Petersburg. We were at his house basically packing the house up and going through the belongings and getting it ready to send back to Louisiana. And we were there on a Saturday. And while we were there, I remember the Super Friends coming on the TV, and that was my first time to see them. And I was what, 3 at the time. So that, and honestly, I think it was during the week after that first weekend of seeing the Super Friends. It was during the week where they were doing reruns of the old Filmation Superman. That was my introduction to Superman.
Mine too. Yeah, dude. I love them. I love the Super Friends. I don't care what anyone says. Goofy shit. Goofy is beyond belief. But man, they were just my thing at that time. They were my favorite thing of all, really, back then. Except for, let me check something for that. Oh God, yeah, I love it. You're right, man. I'm with you there, Paulie. It was wonderful. But for me, there was only one other thing that I did see, actually, because we're bouncing all over the place here. There was a cartoon I did see before that, though, that made me fall in love with a group of people that I will always be my favorite superhero team. And it was the Hanna-Barbera, Patty Freeling, I believe. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say it's before Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, the FF cartoon. The sheer joy of this cartoon. That's how I fell in love with the Thing. Yeah, he looks crazy on there. This actually is not even a cell from it. It's just kind of a drawing based on it a little bit.
I didn't see these until I was a grown man.
Yeah, they mean more to you when you're a kid, for sure. They're very limited animation. They're very crude, of course. But they're special to me. They actually, a lot of them were, fairly close adaptations of the comics.
Oh no, I agree. I've gone since and I have seen them. I enjoy the show for what it is. I thought they did a really good job on Dr. Doom. To many people, the voice out of the Thing for that show is the voice that the Thing should always have, because no matter how many times they've done a Fantastic Four cartoon, the voice, and I can't remember the voice actor's name.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it. I know I usually know it,
but his voice they say is probably the closest to Kirby. And when everyone's like, well, what's the Thing sound like? Jack Kirby. And so his voice was actually probably the closest to Jack Kirby than the voice actors to play him later on. I didn't come into the FF until 78, 79, and actually kind of it was a double dose of it, because I had the Fantastic Four with Herbie the Robot and no Human Torch. I guess they're afraid we were going to set ourselves on fire. But at the same time, we also had little Benji Grimm with his thing ring asking them to do their thing.
Oh, thing ring, do your thing. Oh my God. Yeah.
Which is definitely a low point for superhero cartoons.
I didn't even load any pictures of that garbage. Oh man, no, we don't need that, do we? Yeah,
Well,
buddy.
Cover the good with the bad, and
yeah.
At the tender age I was at that point, it really didn't matter. I was just happy to have anything. But yeah, as you get older, then you finally read the stories, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this was good, and this was garbage. So you start to mature your taste, and then you start looking for cartoons that are as close to the experience you feel you have reading the comics. As possible, and that's what starts to define what you enjoy about the cartoon. Is do they capture, if they're not doing the actual stories, are they capturing at least the feel or the impressions that I have as I read the comic book? Or are they being able to capture that in a TV show? I mean, I wasn't around for Batman comic books when Carmine Infantino was drawing them, but I would imagine that the Filmation version, whether it be the 60s version or late 70s version with Batmite, and would wind up being about as close to Infantino as humanly possible. I know the design work is straight out of Carmine Infantino that the Filmation people used. But as far as the stories go, that's how I look at it. It's like, well, that's that period. In fact, the later version of Filmation Batman used Adam West and Burt Ward because they couldn't get the other people's, the other Casey Kasem and whoever it was that was doing the voice of Batman, because they were too busy doing it on Super Friends.
It was the Batman Tarzan hour. At that point, these Filmation cartoons, love the Tarzan cartoon, by the way.
I had the first season on DVD. They actually released it at one point.
Oh yeah. They did do a DVD on that. Let's see. Okay. I'm having some little trouble seeing. I can't really. If anyone, you guys still in the chat, I'm having trouble seeing the chat right now. I'm having some stupid issues with this thing. But yes, that car, and I was thrilled when Adam West and Burt Ward did the voices. Yeah. Batmite's was a little annoying, but hey, I loved it as a kid. What can you do? I loved all these cartoons as a kid. I mean, I have no even interest in having a critical eye on them. They are what they are. They're fun. The other ones, like the better stuff, started with animated series, and up after that point, yes. But in terms of these things, are just sheer. I mean, these are right out of your childhood and back on, Super.
Well, in '79, in '79 when that I think it was '79. When that Batman, New Adventures of Batman came on, the redo of the Filmation version of it, it went head to head with Hanna-Barbera Super Friends. You had to make a choice, unless you had a VCR. It was, are you watching Super Friends or are you watching this Batman? You didn't have, at least here in where we live, that was the dilemma you were faced with. And usually, I would usually wind up on CBS watching Filmation.
Yep. Oh yeah. Super Friends took many forms though. Over the years, it evolved. It changed a lot. It became Challenge of the Super Friends for a while. It was always dark. So they were dealing with the Legion of Doom. Then later, Dark Side and Galactic Guardians, the Superpowers team.
Yeah.
Eventually leading into that wonderful toy line and stuff. But it lasted a long time. Introducing Firestorm. I mean, Firestorm was in the comics, but it put Firestorm in there not too long after his comic debuted and fizzled when it first came out. So, I mean,
I want to say it was on for like 13 years. It was 16 years. It was a long time. I mean, I don't think Saturday morning wise there was anything that even came, maybe some form of Bugs Bunny Roadrunner, but even then it was all just the same stuff repackaged into a new box, to put on TV. Whereas they were creating new content for this, every single year. It may not have been a whole lot of new shows. You may have gotten a lot of repeats, but they were putting out new content every year for 13 years on this thing. And then the final year, probably the best. My favorite was when it was a Superpowers team, because you actually had Adam West come back to do Batman, and there was one episode, I think it was just called Fear, and it was a Scarecrow episode with Batman, and it was the first time, to my knowledge, they had ever done Batman's origin on TV. And at that point, it was my favorite episode of any cartoon ever.
It was called The Fear. It was a story about the Scarecrow making Batman. And, of course, it was Adam West doing the voice at that point, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, the episode I loved of that was, was called, well, it's a title you're all familiar with because you probably heard it before. It's called The Death of Superman.
Well, all you have to do is look at who did the story and who did the teleplay and why it was any good.
Yeah, Alan Burnett worked on it.
Alan Burnett was the best.
Yeah, he was great. A buddy of mine interviewed him a while back when we were back in the old Blog Talk Radio days. He was a nice dude. But yes, Death of Superman, way before DC used it as a marketing gimmick in the 90s, was a damn good episode. And it started out with Superman basically getting kryptonite poisoning on a planet with Firestorm. What was great about this episode, this was no wimpy Superman here, folks. As soon as Superman was known dead, this is so well done. I love the scene right here where Batman is looking in on him, and Adam West, not doing campy Batman. He looks and he says, "Goodbye, old friend," in that Adam West voice. And he meant it. He's like, man, he thought Superman was dead, and it was great because they had they had planets. I mean, at Superman's funeral on Earth, there were from all across the galaxy coming, to pay tribute to Superman. And he saved so many. This is my wonderful Superman that I grew up with. This is silver and bronze, and even gold. And they came to him like, "Until the next live, Superman." They're all like there mourning his death. And the funny thing is, Darkseid, who was chicken shit to go to Earth with Superman there, was like, okay, he's gone now. Earth is mine. And all the heroes were like, we're in trouble. Darkseid's going to be coming now that Superman's dead. And, of course, they had to prepare for him. Boom tubes everywhere. There's about to be invaded by Apocalypse. And they found a way to regenerate Superman by sending his body into the sun. Yes, I'm spoiling it. Whatevs, as the kids say. And he comes back, and there's a pretty great scene, again, for a kiddie cartoon. It's pretty cool, where Darkseid's starting to rampage, and the heroes are trying to fight him, and then all of a sudden, Superman shows up. He goes, "I hear you've been a busy alien, Darkseid," and he starts Superman, like that stupid Darkseid voice, and he's like, "I think I'll get out of here now because I'm not going to be the guy in the cartoon where I can whip your ass and control you in about a decade. This is Superman we're talking about." So he got when the getting was good.
Yeah, there was another. I think I want to say it was probably the last season of actual Challenge of the Super Friends before the Galactic Guardians and the superpower. It started go more towards the superpowers aspect. There was an episode where I remember they turned the sun red, and Superman had lost his powers, and they actually brought out the Supermobile.
Yeah.
And it only appeared in that one episode, but it was the Supermobile as we had seen it on the in the comic book, the original one with the the fists and everything. And I remember being kind of jazzed because I had the Supermobile, the Corgi Supermobile diecast.
Oh,
and as goofy as that thing was, you loved it, So.
Oh, yeah. DC felt like to market it, they actually put it in an episode. They put it in a comic book issue. It was so
I have them at 1978, Amazo, two-parter.
Amazo's driving is in it for some reason. He's fighting Amazo while he's in it or something like that, if I remember right.
Yep.
Amazo using it, something like that. But yeah.
No, he's fighting Amazo in it. It lasted 2 issues. Yeah. No, okay. I have them.
Nice. Um, then I don't have, I'm about to find a picture of it, but after, Super Friends kind of died off a little bit, um, you had, they started planning some other cartoons, I think, but you really didn't see a whole lot of any cartoons, but there was no Saturday morning really anymore. I mean, there were some great shows. The last great Saturday morning cartoon for me was Thundar, but I mean, doesn't technically count here. We'll talk Thundar again one of these days though, because it was great. But you had all those other cartoons.
You did at least DC wise. Towards the end, you had one more stab at Superman, which was by Ruby Spears.
Oh yeah, I brought that up. Thank you.
And this was basically taking John Byrne's redo of Superman and putting it on the screen. It was as close to doing Man of Steel in John Byrne's Superman as they thought they could get away with. But at the same time, really tried to play both sides of the fence in both. We're doing John Byrne's Superman, but we're also doing a pre-crisis Superman. We're going to try to mush it all together and see if we can make it work. They always had like a little throwback segment where it's Clark as a child at some point in his development, when it's his birthday or, first day of school or something like that. And I have that one too. It's a fun show. It's not a bad show, but these are pretty simplistic shows. I mean, they're made for children.
This was. Well, what I loved about that show you're talking about there, and I'm glad you brought it up because for some reason I just got by and forgot about it. First of all, Gil Kane's did a lot of the character design, which I loved. They used the Christopher Reeve Superman John Williams theme in it, reworked it a little bit, sure.
Yep.
And I love it. So, and we've already had we talked about how, I don't like what Byrne did. It did have Byrne elements in there, you're right. But it had enough, it will still have my Superman in there as well, as far as it has something for everyone. But you're also correct in that it was a kiddie show, like everything on Saturday morning back then. And but it was a lot of fun. But you know what the Superman segments were just kind of goofy fun. You know what I actually really liked? That it's not necessarily Byrne, because it's, there are other iterations of Superman that don't have him as Superboy, that have him as Smallville, as you know, and like the movies and such. So I actually loved the young Clark thing, the family album segment that you talked about. With
right.
With him, it started out as him as a baby, and I forget how many there were, but it progressively, as it moved along, showed him at different stages in his young life in Smallville. They were just cute, silly fun. They were not serious. They had a really great musical score that accompanied him, and it was him just kind of, he and Ma and Pa Kent dealing with his powers.
I want to say there was about 13 of them.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, I mean, that was pretty standard for a television show. So Saturday morning show was to get an order of 13. If you were really big, you might get an order of 26. And then if you were a weekday show, 5 days a week, you get it, and it looks like you were going to be a hit, you get an order for 64. Yep, Superman and Wonder Woman, Sorceress of Time.
Right, Wonder Woman. Look at that, that's Gil Kane. That's right. I mean, that's a Gil Kane drawing right there. I love it. And he'd been doing, not too many years before that, that actually, worked on the book.
Marv Wolfman did a lot of story work.
Yeah, I love this one. Look, there's there's my friend Tony. I call her Wonder Woman. Yeah, and we'll talk about something there. Actually, we'll talk about, there was no Wonder Woman series cartoon wise, but there was a movie. There been a couple of movies. There was one actually animated movie that I kind of like, that she likes. Hello, Wonder Woman. Good to see you there. Hey,
around the same time, we also had some stuff going on in the Marvel universe as well on Saturday mornings. Like I said, we kind of left off Marvel back in around 78, 79 with Fantastic Four with Herbie the Robot. But it wasn't long after that we started getting the Spider-Man shows, the Spider-Verse shows started. We had Spider-Woman, and then we had Spider-Man, and then when Spider-Man wasn't enough for you, then they added Firestar and Iceman. Yeah, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Yeah. And then probably my favorite version of the Incredible Hulk ever done was the 1982 Incredible Hulk cartoon. Love that cartoon. I love the theme music to it. To me, it's better than the 90s version. It to me is my absolute most favorite version of the Hulk ever done. It's just fun, and it's very much a Herb Trimpe Hulk, but which is not normally the Hulk that I gravitate to, but being of its time and what the Hulk was then, it was as close to the cartoons as I could think of, even though Rick was kind of was a redneck? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say he's kind of,
it was a redneck.
working at a taco shack in the middle of the desert. But
oh, good Lord.
But as far as, you know, I mean, to me, you know, classic Hulk stories to me are it's when the military versus the Hulk, and you know, the Hulk's trying to fight off something else that most of the time the military isn't even aware is going on, whether it's like the Abomination or the Leader or whatever. And this is the Hulk's problem to deal with, but he's always the blame of whatever it is these other people are doing. So not only is he having to fight off whatever supervillain of the week is, but the military is always breathing down his back and at the same time. So he's having to fight off both. These are classic Hulk stories to me. And that's all this show was. It was perfect. And you know, like I said, have one of the best theme songs of any cartoon of its time for sure. Definitely my favorite. It never was released in the United States. It's been released overseas, and I'm glad it was, because you can sail the high seas and get a copy of it, and really that look really nice on Blu-ray now. So
yeah, well, RR agrees with you. 82 Hulk cartoon was his favorite cartoon. Still have the VHS recordings from when I was a kid, watching recordings. There you go. Yeah, look, you know,
they're so much fun.
His clothes would mysteriously grow back when he would turn back into Bruce Banner. What's that, Polly? Oh man, yeah, it is, dude. But yes, his what we called him Incredible Clothes Grower. Like, what the? I mean, I remember as a kid, but yeah. See, I have a lot of friends that love that, and of course, really love Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. My reaction to it, remember, I was a teen, in my teens, in my late teens, so I had I loved the '60s Spider-Man cartoon, of course, which we really only barely touched on right now, but I remember not really liking the Amazing Friends that much back then, because I don't know, he's living with Iceman and Firestar, whoever this Firestar girl is, and they have all this gadgets and shit. And at the time, I wanted my Spider-Man like my lone Spider-Man that he was, so I didn't get into it. But then again, it wasn't really aimed at me at that point, I don't think. But I got so many friends who really adore it and love it. So who am I to rock the boat right there?
To be honest, the Spider-Man His Amazing Friends ones wasn't really my cup of tea. And these were all 81, 82. So I would have been like 8 or 9 at the time. But the previous year before Spider-Man His Amazing Friends, there was just Spider-Man. And it was the first time a Spider-Man cartoon had been done since the 60s. And it was actually, I thought, a much better cartoon.
There were actually 2 of them. You talking about that 70s one that was right before that?
I don't think it was 70s. I think it was early 80s. You can check.
Well, it was early 80s. But yeah, there was one that led up to, and it was right before. It only lasted maybe like a year, and it was before Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Right. Yeah, it would have been 81, because Spider-Man His Amazing Friends was 82.
Yeah. Because
that was a block. It was Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, and then the Incredible Hulk. So yeah, no. In fact, you can watch that Spider-Man if you have what's it, Disney Plus. That Spider-Man, 1981 Spider-Man, it's on there. You can watch it.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And it's I think it's for me only because the animation is a little bit better than the 60s one. It kind of flowed a little better for me, and it kind of felt like 70s, early 80s Marvel. It was very much of its time, and really did it. I thought a good job of capturing what the comic books kind of felt like at that moment. The comic books had a lot more drama and seriousness to them, but for a 8-9 year old kid, it was right up your alley. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I understand, but I love the '60s one more because I guess that was from my time, but also that music. My God, that music, and not just the song, which I do love. I'm talking about the music, the incidental music. You can find, for example, on YouTube that
Yeah,
music.
you can
To like
find the scores.
it goes on for hours. The score from that
Yeah, you can find.
Spider-Man swinging, yeah, the swinging music, as they call it.
Well,
Oh my God!
not only that, but the thwip of him launching webs from his web shooters in the '60s cartoon was by far one of the best sound effects ever.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah,
But yeah, and it's getting back to the '80s though. It was right around that time where we actually had our first stab at an X-Men cartoon. It was a one-off episode, basically called Pride of the X-Men, where that was supposed to introduce Kitty Pryde.
yep.
And we had an Australian. It's almost prophetic that they had an Australian Wolverine in the thing. For some reason, the Wolverine in that episode,
Australia.
where
Going on
yeah,
here.
he was wearing the brown and yellow, the brown, yellow, or yellowish orange that Byrne created, and it was the only time he ever wore it. But in that particular cartoon, yeah, he had an Australian accent. No one understood it, but I thought the animation in that was actually better than what eventually came in the early '90s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good, but we were all kind of shocked that it didn't get picked up. I don't know. I mean, well, I'm not sure exactly what the reason was behind it. But
No, instead, ABC picked up RoboCop as a cartoon.
Yeah, an R-rated film that made it as a cartoon back then. That's kind of weird. But yeah, I remember that, and that's for sure. I don't know. It's weird stuff. But when they first announced the Fox X-Men cartoon, I was, I get, and I wasn't young or anything, but I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute, is this that same one Pride of the X-Men they did? Of course, it wasn't, but we all thought it was. I'm like, I guess they picked that up. And then it was totally different.
It was
totally different in a good way. It was great, but
yeah, well, I was gonna say, I actually, this is my confession, and I realize that the '90s X-Men has loyal fans, and by all means, I understand, and I know the Spider-Man of the '90s. Once we get into the '90s, had its loyal fans and both of these really, I think, tried to do a terrific job of trying to take 30 years of storylines and try to squish it into however many seasons of cartoon that they had to do it in. They did a pretty good job. I just couldn't do it. I didn't find the animation that good, and and honestly, at that point, I had already discovered Batman the Animated Series, and there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, at that point, watching then you had the Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk of the '90s and the Fantastic Four of the '90s, which I'll admit, second season of the Fantastic Four much better than the first season.
But even cover it. Just so it was brilliant. But go ahead.
But even still, just the animation alone, and just like this is how can we have animation so good and so well done like Batman the Animated Series, but when it comes to the Marvel stuff, this isn't even as good as the old G.I. Joe stuff, and this is by the same company that did G.I. Joe, and it was so much better than this. When I'm like, what happened? And it wouldn't be until the late aughts until I thought Marvel finally got its act together on cartoons.
We're going to be disagreeing some big time on that one, but not on X-Men. The X-Men cartoon, I love the opening theme. I think it's really, really good. I love the opening theme of the Spider-Man one as well. The two Fox shows that you're talking about.
Yeah.
They were kind of okay back then to watch, but even then I never got really super into them. Now, again, there are a lot of fans of it.
I think part of my problem with it is it tried to cover so much continuity, because it really did try to cover the continuity, but it was like trying to watch a series that should probably had, because I mean, Batman the Animated Series by today's standards is a very slow show. I mean, things are allowed to sit. I mean, there are actual scenes where you can just look at nothing but backgrounds. There's no characters in it yet. But, you may have, 10, 12 frames before a character actually shows up into the the camera's eye. You were just looking at backgrounds just to set up the ambiance and the drama. But watching all these Marvel cartoons, it was like somebody hit the fast forward button and you're watching it, where you're searching it. And it's like, that's the way, that's the way the Marvel cartoons played for me. It's like, okay, yeah, okay. Wow, this is going really quick. And these people are talking really fast and they're trying to cover a lot in a short period of time. I don't think it's working. But that's just me. For those that loved it, I'm glad it's there for you. I really am. It's just not my cup of tea.
No, I got you. Again, I think I love the opening. I love the music for the X-Men cartoon and the Spider-Man one. They're not things that I go back and want to watch all that much. And I guess you could safely say we're sort of in the 90s now.
Yes, I think we've gotten there. We've covered just about everything else.
Well, when we get into the 90s, I guess we're there. We've kind of touched on most of the things here. Like you, I don't think it was great. Animation isn't everything, though. In other words, something could not have the greatest of animation. I could still love it. I remember, let's see, they came up with it was the Marvel Action Hour, which was, of course, Iron Man and Spider-Man. Excuse me, Iron Man and the Fantastic Four. What was the Spider-Man for? I was looking at the picture of Spider-Man on that. That ADD, I guess. But they were. I don't know. That I never did warm up to the Iron Man show.
I thought the Iron Man one I think by far was the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, it was. But here's my story with let's see what Howard says though. He says, I'm with Mark. I didn't hate the 90s X-Men cartoon or the Spider-Man cartoon, but didn't do it for me. You come back to some of the storylines and the episodes compared to yeah. No, well, I totally agree with that. But it does have the big fan followings. Also, here's another thing. This is something I've had this conversation with a lot of people in comic shops before. Around this time, I dumped X-Men a long time ago. I remember I would walk into a shop, and whatever current thing was going on with the X-Men would always, whether I was visiting the shop, working one or whatever, someone would start talking about the current X-Men happenings and storyline because it was still popular. Not the cartoon now, I'm talking the comic book. And they would talk about different things, and it was always kind of funny, but I dropped that back in 1984 or 5, so I hear you, but I don't know much.
Very much the same thing. I think when I dropped X-Men around 150 with Paul Smith.
Well, it was around. I was just about when I jumped it too. Paul Smith, dude.
Yeah, at that point, it was becoming something different than what I had been reading from the time the Giant Size X-Men #1 hit.
And I'm going to say something unpopular here. I can't stand Gambit. Sorry, he's way after me. I can't stand Jubilee. Sorry, I hate this. I love Cyclops. I hate this costume. I hate Jean Grey's costume like there. I don't really like Storm's costume there that much. Wolverine's another unpopular opinion. I like him okay, but he's overrated. I love Beast. It's just, again, I'm not really into this. I was not into this cartoon that much. It dealt too much. First of all, they didn't get the Dark Phoenix saga right, and it dealt too much with things that I didn't really. But I love the opening credits, like I said, and great music. However. And our friend Mando Merck says, I love the 90s Marvel cartoons, but I admit they don't hold up as an adult.
There is one that I will agree with that, but there is one.
There's one
cartoon that we have not mentioned that has come up whenever you and I have talked in the past.
Okay, well, hold on to it because unless you want to go ahead, I'll go back to where my original track.
No. You.
It's cool.
It's your show. You go.
No. You're the guest, man. Go for it. You're the guest, brother. No.
Out of all the Marvel cartoons, the one that I saw that honestly blew my mind because I thought it was so much light years ahead of everything else Marvel was doing in the 90s. And I've gone back and watched again in my 30s, and then again in my 40s, and it still holds up to this day. Is the Silver Surfer? The Silver Surfer that Silver Surfer cartoon. It's 13 episodes of just pure joy.
I love it.
If you're a surfer fan, it is perfect.
Well, I guess we can backtrack after that. So let's go ahead and get some pictures up there of that one because I was getting there, man. I love it. I love.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've heard people bitch about the combination of 2D and 3D animation. I have no problem with it. It was beautiful.
Normally I do. I thought it worked okay here.
If you look at this here, yeah, you got a 3D Galactus and a 2D Norrin Rad. But who cares? I mean, it's wonderful, and it's a great cartoon. I am totally agree with this. One itsy bitsy problem, and it doesn't ruin the show. Not a deal breaker, as they say. They couldn't have, and they were planning some things for the following season, which unfortunately never got made. But they could not have the FF, and they're so vital to the Silver Surfer's origin. The opening 3-parter where they tell the Silver Surfer's origin, and they go to Earth, and it's just Frankie Ray, and it's not the FF. No matter how much I love the show, that aggravates the living shit out of me. I don't care. I understand why. I don't need it to explain to me why. I get it, but
when we get much further on into an Avengers, Earth Mightiest Heroes, I'm going to be even sadder.
I hate that.
It made me even sadder.
I hate what they did to Galactus even more on that. But this really sucks. And it really pissed me off. But there's one cartoon that I would disagree about in terms of the 90s that I love up there. I love it as much as I love Batman animated series. Because, see, to me, I don't need it to be adult. I need it to be creative and imaginative and fun. I mean, yes, Batman animated series is geared close. It could be enjoyed. It's more adult-ish, even though it can be for everyone. And other, Justice League and some things like that. Some of those do lean towards where adults could enjoy them more and kids can still watch them, which is a key thing for me personally. But some of them are just strictly for kids, no question about it. The Marvel Action Hour, for some reason now, the first season of the Fantastic Four, which I won't even put a picture up because it makes me sick, was horrible, terrible, disgusting. It was such a piece of garbage. I was so angry. I'm like,
Roger Corman is a masterpiece compared to that first season of FF.
Yes, sir. So, after, let's see, around the time of, when the first episode of the new season aired, of the second season, right? I was working downtown in a building. I was working security in a building downtown, and in New Orleans. And a buddy of mine called me on the phone. I was there in the morning. It was early in the morning. I was there. Called and says, "Hey man, did you watch the new Fantastic Four cartoon?" And it was my friend Carlos who was on with me last week, actually. And I said, "I watched that shit. What's wrong with you? Fuck that shit." No. You gotta watch it. And I said, "Screw you. I thought it's fucking with me. Go away. Leave me alone." So he brings it over to my house later. He says, "I recorded. You watching it?" Oh, shut up, man. Well, and of course we found out later that Mr. Larry Houston, who I did not get to meet recently, I was pissed off. He was at a con. I didn't get to meet him. Loves the original Fantastic Four, of course, loves real Marvel comics. He got a hold of that thing and overhauled it. He fixed the art. The thing not only did he not look like an ape, an orange ape, he looked like Jack Kirby himself drew him. Look at this. This is kind of a fuzzy picture. And even more so in some shots, like face shots, he looked right out of Kirby. I don't like these uniforms, but I'll deal with them. To me, I want the black, the dark blue and the black, but this was closer, better than the way Burns' idiot uniforms he did. So they were lighter blue. I don't like the white lining, but I had the show's so good, I'm fine. So, and one day, if I become like a multi-billionaire, I'm going to pay somebody to take those episodes for me and animate the costumes right. And then maybe I can do these episodes. I do that. I mean, that's the kind of way I think. But the first episode adapted one of the classic FF stories, and the blind men shall lead them. And they adapted the Inhuman saga. They adapted even some Burn stuff. They actually threw in there. It was pretty cool. They went all over the place. Mostly it was Kirby stuff that they adapted. And it is sheer ultra joy. This is one of those things, my friends. You may all have something like this. I don't know. That no matter how far down into the dumps you might be for whatever's going on in your life, that you can stick on the TV there, and it'll make you at least happy for a while you're watching it. It'll cheer you up. It will make you smile. You'll love it. They had Thor a couple of times. They did Galactus. They did Frankie Ray again. Like I said, they did some Burn stuff. Frankie Ray. Just they did sort of. They touched on the Trial of Galactus, but not really, not as much. They didn't have a lot of time. And then after 13 episodes, one clip episode that was at least still fun. Well, it was a clip episode, had some good stuff in it. All the stuff they did with Inhumans, what they did with Doom, Doctor Doom stealing the super surface powers again. The Thing Hulk episode is a beauty. It's a beauteous thing. The Black Panther episode is wonderful. I love it. If you love the Fantastic Four and you have not seen this cartoon, you could do yourself a favor and track it down. I have the two season set. The first two discs are coasters, and that's all they're for. So unfortunately, the last disc has the very first episode of the second season on it. Damn it! Otherwise, could toss them. But still, yeah. So you might think I like that show a little bit with the way I go on about it. So that thing may kind of. Well, we still got a little bit. One more. Well, we did much of the '90s. We jumped a little bit. We did some '90s. We did some '90s. I think we handled the '90s. We did animated series.
About the only thing we didn't really talk. We didn't talk a whole lot about Batman Beyond, and I don't know if there's really a whole lot to say other than it's just it was the funny thing was it was a show that was supposed to be geared more towards kids because Batman the Animated Series it's the demographic on who was watching it skewed to older. And so they created the show that was supposed to be skewed more towards adults. And I think it's actually a darker show than in some of its subject matter than even Batman the Animated Series, especially when they get into like gene splicing and some of the stuff. I mean, there's some as far as the subject matter, they get pretty dark on that show for a Saturday morning cartoon. But I thought it was excellently done. About the only thing we didn't really touch on, and I'm pretty sure it's still in the 90s, is the X-Men Evolution, which I thought was actually a better cartoon of the X-Men than the X-Men animated series. It was definitely for kids, but it started to get a little more into the drama, and it didn't stay true to the comic book itself. It created its own universe, but I thought the story it was telling was actually a pretty good one.
I didn't watch it, but I didn't. Just the animation, everything didn't appeal to me. So you feel free to tell everybody about it, though. I didn't really put any pictures up on it, but I am familiar with it. Didn't watch it much or at all.
It's a piece in and of itself. I mean, if you like the X-Men and you would maybe want to visit maybe an alternate dimension version of it, where it's kind of like the Ultimates version, I would say, and it's kind of an alternate timeline where a lot of things are still the same. With an entertaining story, it's a good watch. It's not going to blow your socks off, but I thought the animation was better. It flowed better for sure, and I thought they kind of let it breathe a little bit when as far as the storytelling aspect of it went. But that's not even my favorite X-Men show. That doesn't come until later.
Is this another X-Men animated show that you like?
Oh yeah. Once we get into the aughts, things from Marvel start to pick up a bit. I mean, obviously we kicked the aughts off with I think we were still doing a little bit of Batman Beyond, but then we get into Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and that runs you almost halfway through the aughts. And oh my God, they covered. I mean, for the man who has everything, which is
Persia. What you talking about? You're jumping on the Justice League now?
Yeah, I'll get to Marvel in a minute, but I mean, we can't just pass up Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It can't be done.
No. I wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying, I know you're ready for it yet.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love both seasons, really, to be honest with you. But we do have probably one little qualm on for the man who has everything, though. I think they botched it, did a shitty job on that one. I really did.
Really?
Yeah, I love that story so much that I will first be the first to admit that I'm very protective of it, you might say.
Yeah.
And I just hated how they added all kind of horse shit on Krypton that didn't belong. They changed a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I love the show. That episode kind of. I don't think they did it justice. I mean, just me. Maybe Alan Moore did, but that was before he went insane. And I don't know. Chris Persia is here, by the way. Chris, great to see you.
I can appreciate what you're saying. It's just when you think about the length of that story within the comic book in the confines of 22 minutes to tell a story, I thought they did a pretty good job because you got to feel the anguish and the sadness of what Superman's leaving behind. And I read the actual comic book after I saw the episode. And it's just, you know, I think I even had the issue a long time ago, and it came to me in a bundle of comic books that I had gotten, but I don't think I'd ever read it. It was in an annual, and most of the time I just kind of threw the annuals to the side.
Annual number 11, yeah, Superman annual number 11, love it. Yeah.
And so I didn't read it until afterwards when they collected it with in a trade with Whatever Happened to the Man Tomorrow. Basically, it was all the Alan Moore Superman stuff. You know, it was like only like 3 or 4 stories all in one trade.
Yeah, actually, technically 3. There was a 2-parter. Then you had the Swamp Thing team up with DC Presents, and then you had that annual. Yeah, great stuff.
So yeah, so you know, I've got to in the 22 minutes, I've got to know that Clark, what Clark's ultimate wish is, which is, and what you have is a combination of Lana and Lois as a wife and a son on Krypton. You know, a home he's missed out on his whole life, and then feel a bond there that when he's finally pulled out of it and realize, you know, throughout the course, he realizes something's not right here. I'm not supposed to be here, I don't think. And then when he finally gets released from the Black Mercy, just really pissed off. And that's what I you know, that was there for me to be able to sell that. So when he finally takes to Mongo and says, "All right, buddy, do you know what you did to me? I'm going to show you. I'm going to make you feel it.
Yeah,
I'm going to pound you into oblivion to make you feel it." And then
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then, you know, eventually the episode ends with the Black Mercy on Mongo, and I think Batman says it all. It says wherever he is, it's too good for him. And
yeah,
you know, I thought in 22 minutes, take that story, and because you got to do it in Cliff Notes practically, and to be able to do it and make it resonate, and that's all you can ask for, is to make it resonate in 22 minutes. I thought it did a pretty good job. Yeah, the Catamus arc was excellent. That's when you start getting into the later episodes, when they start taking a lot of things that popped up in the last season of Superman and a little bit of Batman Beyond, and that they included that, and then they start pulling just random episodes of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited in the first season, and then start throwing them all together and saying, "Oh, you missed this, and there's this, and there's this," and bringing in the question. That was a great arc. That was truly a great arc.
It was. I really loved both seasons, but of course, Unlimited. I actually like the opening theme and everything to the first 2 seasons better, but Unlimited was so great because. By the way, did you know that opening theme? Fun fact: the opening theme of the Justices, that great, wonderful opening of the first 2 seasons. That music is based on an old House of it was stolen from an old House of Hammer film, a Hammer horror film. Excuse me. It's crazy. You could find an example of it on YouTube. It's insane. Huh. Really good though. Yeah, it's weird. Great stuff though. It's based on it. It's kind of taken from it, as if you will. But Justice League Unlimited, again, continuing the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm universe.
Glenn Murakami, James Tucker, Alan Burnett. Yeah.
One of these things where Again, confession time. One of those things that I didn't warm up to at first, but here's why. Not because well, look, I was really aggravated with the lineup. If you look at this lineup right here, it was supposed to be Hal Jordan. Now, I like Jon Stewart fine. Do not get me wrong. And he was great on this show. Phil Lamar's amazing. But at first, again, I wanted it to be Hal Jordan because I wanted it to be I love Hal Jordan. He's my Green Lantern. And he was going to be there. But what happened was, and I've heard Denny, I don't say Denny, I put him first, but it's Tim. Bruce Timm was the big boss there. Bruce Timm talked about it a lot. And he has said that, here's the kind of cockeyed SJW type logic before we had the term SJW. They said, well, it just looked just a bunch of white guys. So we put Jon Stewart in there. Well, if that's not tokenism, I don't know what it is, buddy. You're admitting the black guy's a token. Fortunately, he's a great character, and it's a great show. I don't want to get into any kind of debates over that kind of stuff. I'm just saying it annoyed me. I'm like, screw him. This is stupid. It should be Hal Jordan. Again, it was way before PC was all that accepted. Now he get away with it easy. No one would say anything. In fact, look at that. None of these characters will be allowed to be there. It'll all be changed up. But still, it's a great show. And, I don't want to I'm not opening up to that big debate over it. I'm just saying it was early on idiocy like that. Dude, you don't even hear yourself. You're saying you're throwing him in there to be a token, and there's anything wrong with that. So, screw him for that. But still, I love his work, and I love the cartoon. But it took me a while to want to go watch it for that. I'm like, But I did. Glad I did. It's just sensational. There's some great stories, especially in Unlimited. One of the great things about Unlimited is it kind of opened up it was just crazy. It opened up that genie's bottle, and it had the whole DC universe pretty much living at the Justice League satellite, to be honest.
There was one or two episodes that they did, and I think it was in the second season of Justice League, where they go into the alternate timeline. You meet the Justice Lords, and this is a dimension where Flash has been killed by President Luthor. And man, they pulled the taffy on that episode forever. The whole Cadmus Project, bringing about of Doomsday and everything that went on with basically what was Power Girl. I can't remember what they call her. She has a different
she was
Galatea.
Yeah.
All of that was based off that two-part Justice Lords episode.
Right, they based so much of that. One slight thing here, Chris Persia. One thing I'll disagree with you, sir, on is he says, and everyone's held their opinion. We find here, is she thought it should have been Kyle because since they had Wally. I hate Kyle Rayner so much. If it had been Kyle, it wouldn't be talked about in the show right now because I wouldn't be talking about it. I hate him that much. And by the way, I love Wally, but I was already annoyed that it was him and not Barry because I'm a Barry guy. Wally is always Kid Flash to me. Again, he's great on this show, is Wally. But if it had been Kyle, it wouldn't even be up for discussion in this episode. You'd be going, Mark would be going, hey man, it was a good show, and I'd be going, I'll never know because Kyle Rayner was on it.
Well, keep in mind they had played Kyle Rayner. They had done the Kyle Rayner once. He's in an episode of Superman the Animated Series,
which I hated.
And that episode went like a dud. I mean, of all the episodes, that one is not well thought of at all. And I think that the fact that episode kind of flopped, I wouldn't say flopped, but it's not considered one of the better episodes in a season that is considered above and beyond the other two seasons that they did. The fact that one's the one that kind of is like, it's all right. Yeah,
DC was shitting on Hal Jordan for years at that point. That was when they were really treating him like trash. Screw them in the face. But yeah, wonderful cartoon. Like I said, that's nothing against you, Chris. It's just that we don't agree on that one. That's cool. I really hate Kyle Rayner. But then again, what can you do?
Yeah, I've been involved sadly in a couple of I don't like to get in Twitter battles with anybody. It doesn't even matter if they're people that I'm so diametrically opposed to the way they think towards comic books or the way they write comic books. I still don't want to get in a fight with anybody. I'd rather have a cogent discussion.
But unfortunately, on Twitter, that's just not possible. Even if you go into to have a cogent discussion with somebody, if they look and say, "Oh, you back this particular comic book," well, then we can't have a cogent discussion. And this kind of happened with me and Ron Morris, and so things got ugly really quick, and so I just said, "Girlfriend in the fridge," and that really kind of made things got quiet pretty quick after that. And I said, "Hey, look, and try to explain. It's like, look, we don't have to get ugly here. We can talk about this. We should be able to talk about this. The fact that, that you think the certain way and I think a different way politically doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to talk comic books. But, apparently it's the way it's got to be." But you're the responsible reason we got to deal with Gail Simone.
There you go. That's true. Hey, Mando, I don't have your Twitter, man. I don't know how to send you something. So, Mando Mark, send me your Twitter if you got it. Chris Persh, I hope that's okay, man. We disagree on that one.
I wasn't too happy. I wasn't too happy with the original 6 lineup that they came up with either. I wanted the classic Silver Age lineup. I mean, who didn't? But I will say this: if you the character is there organically in the fact that Jon Stewart has always been a relatively strong character within the comics. So you're like, I'm not happy, but I'll bite on it. Let's see where it goes. And they really kind of sold me on the relationship between him and Hawk Girl. I really kind of dug it. And Phil Lamar made that character live and breathe as a Marine, as a former Marine. And,
great.
as a Lantern. And I especially when they got to Star-Crossed, the 3-parter at the end.
Right.
I was so sold on because you feel Stewart's pain, especially knowing how he felt so betrayed by Shire. It was just a great show. And hell, even the first storyline where in the second season where it's like, okay, we've kind of wimped out on Superman the first season, so we're going to beef him up. So you get that Brainiac Darkseid storyline, and man, him and Darkseid just tear the snot out of each other. And at that point we're like, okay, yeah, I'm good with Superman again.
He thought the dynamic. Well, yeah, but you know what? I got to admit, there was one time when I didn't mind Kyle was in when they brought Hal back, and it was Sinestro Corps War, and he was buddy with Guy Gardner. It didn't bother me that much because he wasn't in the spotlight. But yeah, look, I've warmed up to Wally though as a Flash, but I'm a Barry guy. What can I tell you? But Chris Persia, thank you. He writes that's perfectly fine. Clobberin. I started following Gio when it was Hal and Neil Adams penciling. Wow, you're an old timer like the rest of us, buddy. I'll tell you that. I just thought the dynamic between Hal and Kyle. Well, you're not alone. Look, a lot of people like him. But that's the way it goes on that. Oh, you don't have Twitter? Oh, Mando, I'll try to send you one. I don't know how to send you a link for that sort of thing. Then maybe I can send it through email. I don't know. I'll try, but I don't know how that works. Our good friend. I wasn't ever really a big Wally fan either. Michael Rosenbaum in this show kind of made me more of a Wally fan. I became more of a Wally fan because of this show. Yeah, he's really good. No question about it. I guess I could send one through. I'll send one through the email there, buddy, when I can figure it out. So I'm a computer moron. Well, I'm a moron on everything. It's just that I'm more and more on computers and on other things. I mean, yeah, I like to single it out so I sound like there may be something I'm not a moron on, but really it's all just one big streak of moronism. Since moronism isn't a word, that was moronic of me to make one up. So there you go. This is just a wonderful cartoon. Some of the episodes that I loved. Let's see. I loved The Greatest Story Never Told.
Yeah, the Booster Gold episode.
And there's another thing, like a character I didn't like much, Booster Gold. I mean, I like this comic. I remember when I bought it when it first came out. I think I was working at a comic shop at the time. And I bought it because the Legion was on the first issue, I think, or whatever. And I never really cared that much for him. And it's funny, his comics never got into that much. And he has been great on this show. And he's been great on Batman Brave and the Bold. And even on another show we're going to talk about later, Justice League Action. He's been good on cartoons. Not saying he wasn't good in comics, just didn't give him much of a chance. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. But I kind of fell in love with him through some cartoons. Not so much to love him, but I mean, I like him, and he is a good character, and can be a very interesting character. Gotcha. Alan Moore once said there are no bad characters, just bad writers, and but before he went insane, of course, and he's right. It's a good thing to say. It's right.
Yeah.
So
it was about this time we had a different version. Well, I mean, we'd had Batman Beyond, and then we had The Batman, which I thought was just a terrible show.
I hated it.
Dwayne Capizzi was basically shoehorned with a Batman show, and it's like, we want you to do a Batman show, but it can't be Batman the Animated Series, and it's and you can't do it like Batman the Animated Series, and it's like it's like, okay, you're asking me to deliver a meal that's a hamburger after everyone just got served filet, and this is never going to work, and it didn't. I mean, there are certain moments in that show that I think are okay, and I think that there are certain episodes that I like because I gave it a legitimate shot, all 5 seasons of it, and you're asking a show to come back after Batman the Animated Series and be a Batman show, and that's just not going to happen. But once we got that out of the way, and then Bruce Timm alumnus James Tucker decided, no, we can't do it that way. If you're going to do another Batman show, you can't redo Batman the Animated Series. Let's go back into basically the Batman team-up book from the Silver Age. And so we get Batman Brave and the Bold, which...
Well, yes.
Just so much fun. I mean, it's a Batman show, and I didn't want to like it. I did not want to like this show at all. And just watching the episode, and it's like, okay, well, that was kind of fun. And then I watch a couple more episodes and be like, okay, I kind of like those too. And it's about this time that I had my little one, because he's 11 now. And he was too little to watch Batman the Animated Series. But I could buy Batman Brave and the Bold for him, at the age of 2 and 3, put that in front of him and be completely okay. And this wound up being, at first it was a guilty pleasure, and then I was just like, you know what, fuck it, this is just a really good show. I mean, there's so much Silver Age goofy goodness in the show, and then at times it had so much heart that you couldn't turn it away. I mean, Aquaman is just so bombastically over the top ridiculous, and those episodes you're like, this is just and then by the end of it you're like, you know what, there's a reason why Aquaman keeps coming back in this show. It's because these things are fun. Hercules. And then you did they did one with the Doom Patrol. That's just heartbreaking.
Love it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, no.
Dude, I could do a whole shows on this cartoon. It's probably my favorite cartoon of all time because it gave me everything I wanted in a superhero cartoon as a kid. Because I love Batman Animated Series, and I love if you do a dark cartoon that's good, it's not too far, I'm fine with it. But when you make me feel like the kid I was when I started reading and loving this stuff and watching the cartoons, I'm there. Nothing did it like this. It was referred to as a love letter to Silver Age comics. That's true. There are a lot of things true about it. Here I posted one. All these characters were on there except for Power Girl on this one, by the way. But they had one of the fun things about it was not only did you get a fun 20-something minute little story where he would team up with all these different characters, sometimes very obscure characters. You got the opening segment, which was almost an except for a while when they were setting up the Starro story, except for some of those, was always an individual story on its own. Mm-hmm. Now, my son's far older than yours. He's 31 now, but I mean, even still, he likes that kind of stuff. He and I would always watch it together, and But here's the thing: one of the things, in 2008, as you all know, a film called The Dark Knight came out. And this was at a time, at least, say what you want about, studio execs, because they're all pretty terrible. It seemed to me like they started looking at marketing, which was kind of what you're supposed to do with these things, and said, look, this looks like a very mature, this Chris Nolan, Batman film. People aren't really be able to take little kids. You just made that point perfectly. Not gonna be able to take little kids to see that. And you can sell toys, but it's not gonna be the little kids, not on that movie. We can't sell toys and we can't do something for the kids when you got a big Batman movie coming out. They didn't know how huge and how, legendary and successful that movie was going to be at all, but they thought it would be okay. And so that's why I'm thankful to the Dark Knight film. I'm like, let's do something for the kids. Now, if they'd only done that with Man of Steel, could you imagine a Superman cartoon like this? My God, man, how great would it be? So they got together, like you said, James Tucker and Michael Jelenic, some Bruce Timm alumni, and they did this cartoon. And you had Batman. For those who remember the old Brave and the Bold comic, it's titled kind of after that. It reaches into the Silver Age too, though, which kind of started Silver Age. Goes all over the place throughout Silver and Bronze. Has Batman teaming up with other superheroes. I've always said this. This show is for two kind of people: an 8-year-olds and 50-year-old 8-year-olds. Because if you read comics as a kid and you're seeing this now, they even did an episode where they showed a reference to that, like a man watching the show with his kid in the very last episode, which was wonderful, called Mightfall. No, Mightfall wasn't the last episode. I forgot the other one. No, I'm in Mightfall. But anyway, yeah, that's right. It was Mightfall. Anyway, so you can watch it with your kid. The kid can watch it, just be a kid and like to see Batman running around with colorfully clad superheroes. And the person who read comics as a kid can see all these references, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And it was smart. It didn't talk down to anybody just because it was for kids. It didn't talk down. It had hilarious musical episodes, a lot of humor in it, but Batman was still Batman. A lot of humor in it. The characters were pretty much in character the way they always were in comics, not super dark and serious, but they actually did an episode that dealt with Batman's origin. It was pretty damn, for that show, pretty dark, as you know. With Kevin Conroy as the Phantom Stranger, Mark Hamill, the Spectre, Adam West as Thomas Wayne, Julie Newmar as Martha Wayne. My God. Why is the episode name escaping me? Chill of the Night. Chill of the Night was the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
The Joe Chill episode. Great episode. After that, they did one with a Spectre, an opening of a Spectre episode, like using Batman and Spectre, one of the openers, where the Spectre flat out murders a son of a bitch. The Doom Patrol. That was yes, kids can watch it, but that one,
that was my favorite.
Pieces, man. But my favorite one was this one right here. It's called Battle of the Superheroes. And I love it because for years they flaunted and flirted with doing Superman, but there was rights issues going on at the time. And before this episode aired toward the end of the series run, the glorious 65-episode series run, the only glimpse we got of Superman was this right here. And that's it. This was actually, I think, the Sidekicks Assemble episode where the Titans first popped. And, they would ask those guys, we kind of stuck them there, but we're not really supposed to use Superman. And eventually, as we all know, there was a big settlement going on between DC and Warner or whatever, and the Siegel and Schuster's descendants. So we get Battle of the Superheroes. And it's my favorite one. It's basically just Batman and Superman as I knew them as kids. Yes, they end up in a battle with each other, but they don't hate each other like Frank Miller started that horse shit. Frank Miller didn't really start it, but he exacerbated it all to hell. They're not enemies because I'm sorry, folks. Fuck you, Frank Miller. I love some of your stuff, but Batman and Superman are not natural enemies. It's bullshit. Best buddies, they fight, they squabble, they're different, but they're not enemies, folks. They're allies. Eat a bag of shit. They're the world's finest. Fuck. DC started screwing the world's finest title up, and that's why it got canceled. And then Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's overrated crap, turning Batman and Superman into enemies, could go screw himself. And that's why I just love this episode so much. You could do a story where they're at odds and they have to fight for a silly reason, but such imaginative, creative stories on this show.
I mean, dude, they made the Gentleman Ghost relevant for the first time in 40 years. They did a Captain Marvel and Marvel Family episode where Mr. Mind is the bad guy. It's probably the first time that cat's been seen anywhere in 25, 30 years. You know, going back to when Shazam first came over from Fawcett over to DC, and Schaffenberg was doing the work. I mean, you know, they had OMAC on there. They had, I mean, they just, it's like they touched on everything. It was everything.
Yeah,
Commander, yeah.
Jonah had,
Yeah.
They had I mean, they did a musical called Mayhem of the Music Meisters. Is terrific. And
Yeah.
shows I love almost as much as I love Battle of the Superheroes was this one here, the Triumvirate of Terror, where Wonder Woman was also didn't pop up till later toward the end. She was in one of the shorts, which was hilarious, where they used the Wonder Woman theme, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you had this one. My God, that's the DC Trinity right there, folks.
And there's one where they're in they're playing like a baseball game, which is like
remember the old comic Strange Sports?
Yeah,
was based on that, and it was the villains playing the heroes, and then it was great. It was Luthor, Joker, and Cheetah decided they couldn't beat them, the three of them, so they all switched villains. I mean, switched heroes. You know, they took and Joker took on Superman, I believe. Luthor went after Batman. Luthor went after Wonder Woman, and Cheetah went after Batman. I forgot. Now I forget. Now I'm a dumbass. God, I loved it though, and I just love this fucking episode. Again, there were so many brilliant episodes. They did one. They had Amazing Man on there, dude. They had Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
They had Space Ghost. Oh God.
That's right. They did do a Space Ghost episode. Actually, he was in the intro.
In an intro. Dude, they had Haunted Tank, man. Jesus Christ, dude. Enemy Ace. And G.I. Robot. Oh, my God. It was... They had the Freedom Fighters, which was... the only thing they never did, God, if they'd gone, my lovely, wonderful Legion of Superheroes would have popped up one day.
Yeah, they did. Well, yeah, but the Legion at that point had their own cartoon. Whether you enjoyed it or not, they did. And then at the same time, there had been in episodes of Justice League, they'd been episodes of Superman, the animated series. So it wasn't like you had gone without the Legion. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like, I can't believe I'm seeing some of these characters show up in Sherlock Holmes. You know, it's like I'm seeing these cats show up. Yeah, you're just like the show is so bonkers off the wall. Just throwing everything and the kitchen sink into these shows, but it just worked, and it was such a love letter to the Silver Age, and early Bronze Age that it just you're just kind of in awe every time you watch it. It's like I can't believe I can't believe somebody even remember this character exists.
That Ambush Bug, man, voiced by Henry Winkler.
Yeah,
insane. And John DiMaggio, who is I'm not gonna go into what a crap bag he is because of his Twitter, but I love him as Aquaman. Of course, he's Bender on Futurama. I met him. When I met him, I had my orange Aquaman shirt that said "outrageous," and I walked up to his table. All the other kids were getting them. This is Dragon Con, like 2000, I don't know, 13 or 14, whatever it was. All the other kids were getting the sign Adventure Time crap, and a couple people were getting the sign, Futurama stuff. But I walked up there, and his buddy sitting next to him goes, "I know what you want to get signed. I see your shirt." And I had him, he said, "outrageous" for me, and I talked to him a little bit, and he did not know this, but of course, Aquaman's personality on this cartoon basically was pretty much the Marvel Hercules. You have to just like him, which we called him Aqualis for fun of it. Great character. And I told him about that. He goes, "I never thought of that," but he was cool and everything. And I got an Aquaman picture signed from him. And he did. He also did. There was an episode where Aquaman sings Aquaman's rousing song of heroism. Oh my God! Great music on the show. Musicals. Great. All kind of big time voice work and voices went on there.
Oh yeah, everybody was on that. There was one. It was really kind of cool. There was a race, and first of all, the Batmobile on the show was such a great Batmobile because it was it was modern, but at the same time still had a lot of the flavor of that 1950s bubble dome Batmobile, which made it one of the cooler Batmobiles that's ever been done for either animation or live action. I love the Batmobile from the show, but there was a race, and I remember they had the Catmobile, and then you had the Joker Mobile, and all of them were in the race, and it was just a really good show. And there's really, I mean, there's episodes that I've seen so many times they've kind of worn themselves out. Mostly dealing with a newer version of the Blue Beetle, but even within that, they went back and did Ted Cord and touched on that Blue Beetle, which was a great episode.
That show made me not mind that new Blue Beetle much. I just don't. He's no Ted.
Yeah, Cord. Those episodes showed up a lot, though. That was the only reason why I had any problems with them.
Oh,
but yeah. Then there was a major episode where the Green Lantern you're dealing with isn't Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner or John Stewart. You get one where it's Guy Gardner, and then you get one that's nobody that you would normally expect as a Green Lantern to show up on an episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the dog.
Incredible.
Yeah, get the dog.
I love that cartoon. But there's something I could go on about it forever. But we should move on to another one here that I love. We're talking about imagine that. We're talking about stuff on my show and we're loving it rather than kicking the shit out of it. It happens. Well,
it's about this time that we're starting to see rumblings over from cartoons coming from Marvel, and I think there's two guys that did Marvel animation for almost as long as Bruce Timm did. Guy by the name of Josh Fine and Chris Yost. And the first series they worked on together, or that it's like they alternated, but I think that they worked on was Spectacular Spider-Man, which may be the best Spider-Man show going since the 1960s Spider-Man show. And it doesn't follow any one particular comic book or storyline from a comic book. It's kind of a mashup of everything, but it does such a good job of feeling like Spider-Man the whole way through. Peter down on his luck and always trying to do the right thing, and things never work out. But he always does wind up saving the day, or tries to. And when it really counts, he wins. But there are times where he doesn't win, and God bless it, it can't hold on to a pair of shoes. And it's just, God, it's so well done as a Spider-Man show that if you've never watched it, and it's surprisingly, it's not on Disney Plus. It's the only Spider-Man show not on Disney Plus. And which makes me sad because it's I think it may be my favorite Spider-Man show of all time.
Yeah, that show, it's weird because at first I wouldn't watch. I had to, you ever been dragged kicking and screaming watching something?
Mm-hmm.
My son needled me for years about how good it was. And I'm like, look, okay, I believe you, but I cannot stand that art style, that animation. I do not like it. Sam, I am. I can't get into it. I've tried to watch it on recommendations before. It's tough for me to look at.
It's that Sean Cheeks Calloway version of art.
Eventually, a number of many years back now, they were out on DVD, and they were like $5 a pop for these multi-episode tape DVDs at Walmart or whatever. And I grabbed the whole series. All right, because there weren't many. There were 20-something, 26 episodes, whatever it was. And to this day, the art irritates me. I don't really like it, but the stories are so damn good. The show was so damn good. I forgive it, and then I don't care. I mean, I would have preferred it to look different, but I don't. It does not, because sometimes in this world, nothing is fully comfortable. Nothing always fits perfectly. I wouldn't have gone that way, but it's really good. Great cartoon. Great story. Very well.
No, but this is the start of a run of various Marvel cartoons that if you were to put them together, and when we get to the end, I'll make a statement that I really wish they would have done, because it would have brought everything together. Because after we get through Spectacular Spider-Man, we have the other X-Men show that I was talking about earlier, the one that I like probably the most of all, which is Wolverine and the X-Men. Now you've got a lot of the new X-Men stuff with Genosha Island,
Right.
but the story was given time to breathe, and it felt like X-Men. It felt like they were trying to do their best to take. We're going to do a little bit of the late '70s X-Men, the Brent Claremont stuff. We're going to take a little bit of the '90s X-Men because it's become such a thing, and then a little bit of the new X-Men that Grant Morrison's done, and see if we can't combine it all into one show. We can take the best of what everyone liked about X-Men at these various times and see if we can't blend it all together in one show and make it work. And I thought they did a really good job, actually. And the animation was good, and the storylines I always thought were top notch as well. And we even get a nice Hulk versus Wolverine battle with Nick Fury involved. It's not the Nick Fury I prefer, but it and I thought it was a great show. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's to this day my favorite X-Men show.
That Hulk Wolverine fight was way better than the one they did in that animated special later. On that show was better, I thought.
If you watch the two, the one from the special, if you watch it, it's meant to be a prequel to the one in Wolverine and the X-Men. Like you can watch them both back to back, and it flows as one story.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That cartoon, I remember when it first came out. It came out right after Wolverine Origins, right around that time, rather. Garbage movie. But I remember, again, there's so much. I was aggravated. I knew he was. We all know how popular Wolverine is, whether you like it or not. I get that. But I see this thing, and I'm like, I started watching it, and when it came on. And I don't like the way they handled a lot of it. Kind of seems similar to the movies too, in the sense that they kind of they did some like Cyclops was mopier than like he was in the movies, more so in comics, I think. And it was kind of like this was good old Uncle Wolverine, was the way he kind of acted on this show. But I did like it. It's been a while since I've watched it. I don't actually like to watch it again. And they did some good ones here and there, but I can't remember a whole lot of it. But I remember most vividly the Hulk episode.
Mm-hmm.
And our buddy Mando Merck here, he said Wolverine the X-Men was great. It is the best iteration of the Days of Future Past storyline. How many episodes?
I'll agree with that. Best depiction of Bishop in the cartoon for sure.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, again, I'd like to see it again. It didn't last long though, right? Was it just the one season, few episodes?
Did it last? I don't know. I think it went for two. Yeah, Stephen Bloom is amazing. I think it went for 2 seasons. Yeah. I've got it all on disc, but where I'm at right now, it's not. I can't just go grab it. So it'd be hard for me to tell you how many episodes there were.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see again.
But yeah, no, I thought it. I mean, I think there's 4 discs on it, and each one's still got like at least 5 episodes. It may have been 20, 21, 22, 23 episodes. It's just a few of them.
Yeah.
But I love the show, and again, Chris Yost, Josh Fine, we're in charge of this deal, and I think with the next Marvel series that they took on, they didn't handle. They outsourced the animation and tried to do something new. 26. Thank you.
Mando Mark.
So that would be 2 seasons.
I sent you a link, by the way, Mando. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think they tried to do something different with the Fantastic Four by trying to make it look a little more anime, and it didn't work. But some of the story, I hate the Doctor Doom model, and there's I despise the outfits, but I actually enjoy a lot of the stories from it. I really do. And they cover a lot. They cover She-Hulk. They cover Armor Wars from Iron Man. They cover a lot of good stuff in there. And I thought they did a pretty good job of doing of telling the stories in that. Even Made Impossible Man did an episode with him where and and I've always hated that character. In that one episode, I can stomach, which is saying something. But I really love the episode with the Mole Man and Giganto 2, I guess it is, because I think the whale one is Giganto 1. Yeah. But I thought they did a nice job of using the Mole Man, and so there's negatives to that show, but I think there's a lot of positives to that show as well.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I don't know. Not to be that much, can't look at it, but I mean, I trust you, so I believe it probably had good things. But man, what a waste visually. I hate that style.
Well, here's the sad part, because now that we've gotten to that point, we get to a show where the Fantastic Four show up inside the show on, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes, and if they'd used this version and used the animation style of the Fantastic Four, it would have been a better show.
About to hit my happy spot right here.
Yeah.
I love
Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes was just the best.
Oh my God.
I mean, it is by far the best version of any Marvel show ever done to date.
Agreed. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the first season, everybody gets an origin episode. Every origin episode is great. I love the Captain America one. I love the Incredible Hulk one.
I've been to every often. It's so good. God.
And yeah, then we do a 2-parter, Gamma World with the leader. And yeah, you've got Black Widow. Skrull. They did the Secret Invasion better than the comics did Secret Invasion.
No shit. Oh yeah. Let me tell you something, man. This cartoon right here. There's a guy called that you and I both have some regard for with green skin. Old J Jaws, the Hulk. In my opinion, or at least I can't think of very many things, comics or anything else, where he was better characterized, better written than on this show. And he's fucking amazing on this show. Hulk, Frank Tatasciore doing the voice or whatever is really good. But the way he is written, Bruce Banner, Hulk, and I love the fact that this show starts in like there's an established Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. Even though they're not teamed up yet, they know each other or they know of each other. Yes, it's very Iron Man centric because at the time it was 2010. Iron Man was super popular, and they got a guy to try to sound like RDH, which is okay, not a knock. Brian Bloom as Captain America's brilliant. God, I love Chris Evans as Cap in this movie. The voice I hear when I think of Captain America, it's Brian Bloom.
I can't argue that.
Fantastic.
And I'll tell you what, if they had done Ultron in Age of Ultron the way they did him in this cartoon, it would have been a hell of a lot better movie. Because the Ultron episodes of this cartoon are probably the best Ultron usage I've seen in a long time. And because Ultron's my favorite Avengers villain. And I've seen, going back to the inception of Vision, there have been some really good Ultron issues. And then there was like a 4-part story that I thought was probably one of the best Ultron stories ever done by Kurt Busiek and George Perez in their run, like 19 through 22 or something, 21, 22, which was really good. And then this.
Yeah. Oh my God. There were so many great stories on there. There was, again, like you said, the first 5 episodes were all origin stuff. Dude, they built up to the end of the first season when they went to Asgard. I mean, oh my God, man.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh my Lord. It's so amazing the way they did that. But what I really love about this is, if you look at it, they almost did not screw with any of the designs of the characters from comics at all. The only thing I didn't like about the art, I don't like the way they drew the Thing's head. But I won't nitpick. I still love the way they handle the FF. Although they did kind of treat the FF like second stringers compared to the Avengers. That last
it's an Avengers cartoon. It's to be expected.
No, I'm not. No, but not what that last episode is a piece of shit. I love the show except for that. It's what they did with Galactus. It makes me too angry to get into it. What they did with Galactus.
Between let's see, you've got 1, 2, 4 Fantastic Four cartoons, a Silver Surfer cartoon, and the Avengers cartoon, and they've never, ever done the Common Galactus correctly. Never. It's never been done right.
They sort of did the old 60s one, but it's kind of just taken from the comic. But yeah, you're right. No, they never will. But the fact that I don't know, they should have left Galactus out of it. They didn't even have Galactus in there. They should have left him alone, or at least did him later down the road. But Avengers don't need to be messing with Galactus. I hated that. But that's just a side. It's just one episode. To hell with it. I wouldn't care if they did like 3 episodes I hated. If I got the show back, screw you, Loeb and Marvel, for taking it away and giving us that piece of shit Avengers ass symbol. Fuck you. They took the show away from us. I liked the movie and all that stuff. I wanted 4 more minimum seasons of this, dude. Good God. Look at Carol Danvers there as Miss Marvel. So well done on that show.
Yep.
Everybody's so well written. Christopher Yost, dude, man, he was. And I know some other people worked with. I don't know if Loeb did much. I mean, I don't know. The nom de plume for may have been Loeb. I don't know.
At this point, Loeb had been hired on as producer, and he was trying to get the television division up and running. So him and like Quesada get their name put on it. But as far as having anything to do with the show, I can't believe that because this is good.
Yeah, yeah. Black Panther storyline was great. The Vision storyline was great. Look the Wasp was so wonderfully written. The Hank.
Here's the bullshit of all of that. Okay, because we had Spectacular Spider-Man, which went I think for 2 seasons, which was really one of the best Spider-Man shows I'd ever seen. Canceled. What gets in its place? Ultimate Spider-Man, and that show was garbage. I could not stand their version of Nova. I couldn't stand their version of Power. Yeah, Iron Fist. Oh, it was god awful. I hated that show.
All that's Jeff Loeb shit.
And then we lose Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes to Avengers Assemble, and it's just like, and it's like just stuff a knife through my heart. And then, as well done as the Hulk is on this show, then we get a Hulk as he's based off of from Avengers Assemble, and then we put him with every gamma creature ever created in Agents of Smash, and it's just like they just took like 4 shows of Marvel that were so well done and gave us 3 shows of just shit. I mean, just pure shit. And I was like, maybe I'm jaded because I just like the previous show so much that I'm not willing to give this a shot. So I tried my damnedest to give all 3 of these shows a real chance. And I couldn't, even after watching a full season of all 3, I just couldn't do it. And it was painful to watch 13 episodes of all 3 of those shows.
Painful. Dude, there was so many great things on this fucking show, man. You had Yellow Jacket. They dealt with Hank Pym's insanity. You had Power Man and Iron Fist. I didn't like that look for Luke Cage much, but it still was Power Man and Iron Fist. They had Doc Samson, man. They had Falcon. They had Winter Soldier on there. They did kind of abbreviate the Michael Korvac saga, a little bit abbreviated, but they had Guardians of the Galaxy looking like they're supposed to. They had, Oh my God, dude, there's so many great. They had Spider-Man. The Spider-Man episode is incredible. With him and
Serpent Society,
Serpent Society. Then later, the quote-unquote new Avengers episode they did, they had Wolverine pop on there. Oh my God, a 3rd season would have been so good.
And then they took the ultimate version of Cap's costume, which I never liked, and you're just sitting there looking, and it's like, man, we got to deal with this for a season. And then you come to the realization of Secret Invasion and what that Captain America is, and helps you differentiate between the 2 of them. And it's just like, well, good, because I couldn't stand that outfit anyway. So beat the shit out of it. Go ahead, do it.
Hell yeah. Hawkeye was great on the show, by the way.
It was the best Hawkeye's ever been. Tick, tick, boom.
Tick, tick, boom. Yeah, tick, tick, boom. Dude, I'm about to. I got to binge these again. I need it every year. There's a new Avenger. When there was a new Avengers film, I binge this leading up. I need an excuse. We ain't never getting any more good than the MCU again. So it's been about. I think I've I'm allowed to go ahead and binge these again because it's been about 2 years. It's just the only thing is when you get toward the end and you're running out, you're like, oh man, dude, they went to the Creep homeworld.
Yeah, I mean they changed up. They gave him a hood instead of his headdress that he normally wears. But even the Grim Reaper was cool.
Yep. Now I didn't like the way they handled Wonder Man. They kind of messed that up a little bit, but it was still okay.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, Simon Williams is. That poor dude has never had a cool costume. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. No. There's never been a good costume for that character. Never.
I like the green one. Sorry, but no, I'm not. It's dopey, but I like it. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that though.
but yeah, I mean, you look, it's like there's just little tidbits, and it's like, hey, you watching the Origin of the Hulk. And then you start looking, and you got Hawkeye and Black Widow trying to take in the Hulk, and he's fighting Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, in the middle of the desert, and they're busting down like Monument Valley and shit. And then you look at the who's flying the helicopter, and it's Wild Bill from G.I. Joe. And if you don't know that, you don't know it. Doesn't mean anything. But if you do, you just kind of chuckle.
Oh, it's incredible, man.
Oh, dude, I love this show. I was I don't think I've ever been more angry. I mean, at least Batman, animated series, when it ended, there was so much of it. You had so many good episodes. And this was like, man, I could have gone another 2 years of this and just watched it develop into wherever they wanted to go. I was willing to go with them because I thought even when they changed the Thor's costume to what was popular at the time, it was like, all right, I'm down with this. Okay. It just never got bad. It never went bad. No. And they got into stuff like the Jeff Johns era where they had the red dust that would turn everyone's face into red skulls. And, they did that episode. I mean, they covered so much in this show in such a short period of time. And the Annihilation Agenda. I mean, good. Wow.
So good, man. I want to go watch love this again, show. Man. So, and now the last episode I do hate for a lot of reasons, but even still, I would suffer it 1,000,000 times to have this show continue. D. Oberg has popped in. Oh, thank you for popping in, sir. Hail to you. Hail. For joining us.
I mean, I get it. Making the Coming Galactus an Avengers storyline instead of FF storyline. I understand your pain, dude. We had Airwalker appeared in a cartoon,
and all those different heralds. I don't know. Again, look, that's just. I think they misused Galactus. But look, again, so what? I mean, I can look, dude. All's forgiven if we got another season.
Yeah, would have been.
But it'll never happen. And again, the turd in the punch. It's one thing to cancel something, to cancel it, to give us something inferior and stupid, garbage. Yeah. Like, by the way, there's plenty of that goddamn show. Avengers Assemble. There are tons. I mean, I've been like 90 seasons of that shit, but no, we got fucking. Man, I hate these fuckers. Screw you, Marvel. You fuckheads. I take 5 seasons of this over any damn Avengers movie MCU. I'm sorry, that's just me.
Yep, I would too. And I enjoyed the MCU Avengers movies.
I did too.
Endgame, the culmination of Endgame to the big fight between Thanos and where it's just all on the battlefield, and you're just I realized that you've gotten down to pretty guttural storyline if you've gotten to where it's just a big giant, a lot of CG on the screen, but when the Avengers are announced and then it's made evident at the end of the first Avengers movie that Thanos is your big bad, and you start thinking in your head, what could be? Endgame was it. So they delivered it. But if I could have had this, they could have given me Thanos on this as another season, and I would have given up the entire MCU to keep this show running for another 3-4 seasons. I really would have.
Me too.
Because it was so well done. I love the fact that the opening, when the screen that you were just showing, where it's the very end of the opener where the Avengers are all coming together. depending on who had left the team or who was coming onto the team, depended on who was there at the beginning. People were dropped in, people were added, people dropped out of the opening, and it was really kind of cool. And it's like, oh, okay, this person's an Avenger. This, because at first it's just like, Iron Man, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then all of a sudden, then you've got Captain America in there, and it all kind of comes together, and then all of a sudden you see Black Panther shows up, so then he pops into the group shot at the end, and Hawkeye, and then Captain Marvel, and it was like, this is really kind of cool. They just kind of come and go, and as the team is right now, that's what you see on the screen, and it's one of those things where if you don't pay attention to it, you might not notice it. But
that's right.
Yeah, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't notice it. But it changes episode to episode depending on who the characters are and who's part of the team, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And again, another thing was so great that they had all the supervillains too. That's one thing about movies you're never going to get. Supervillains that look like, and they were all established supervillains. None of this origin-y crap. They were just there. They had 3 different prisons full of supervillains that Hank Pym had made shrunken, along with S.H.I.E.L.D. Supervillain prisons and things like that, and they broke out, so they had to go track them all down. It opens up. I even like the opening theme. It sounds cornball, but it grew on me. I like it. The world's about.
Yeah, I did too.
It's just so much fun. And yes, you would watch it early on and go, "This is going to be another Tony Stark thing," because the MCU like it a lot, but it's also Tony Stark this and Tony Stark that. But this show, he was popular, so it's on him a little bit, but it's all of them, and they're all so well handled. I love the episode where Cap teaches him how to fight, which is right out of one of the old comics.
Yeah, and Hawkeye and the Hulk are sitting on the sidelines, and as Tony's getting the shit beat out of them, they're just laughing their butt
they're
off.
laughing. This is going to be good because he says, "You don't know how to fight, Tony. You just blast and throw and punch." He says, "What a bunch of supervillains that disagree with you," and then he, of course, throws them all over the place. It's God, it was so fucking.
Oh man, the one episode with the Purple Man, and then you're just kind of like,
oh God, yeah,
wow.
Brent Spiner doing the voice of the Purple Man.
And you're like, whoa, yeah. No, it was. Oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're right, man. I hate him. Yeah, so good though. That Purple Man episode, Emperor Stark episode, that was so friggin' good. And again, Cap. I think you just stand up and cheer almost when Cap is on that Skrull ship for the Secret Invasion episode, and he's just being a badass all over the place, and everyone's following him because he's Captain America. Brian Bloom, Jesus Christ, man, that voice. Holy shit, that voice is Cap. But Kevin Conroy's the Bat. Brian Bloom, man, just sells it.
Absolutely, and and then they had the Private War of Dr. Doom, which kind of kicks off Secret Invasion, where Doom knows something is up, and so he sends all these distractions basically to capture Susan Storm and the Wasp, and basically he's just trying to figure out who's Skrull, who's not, and find a way to be able to tell the difference. And yeah, when it comes down to it, of being able to piecemeal who's who, Doom's the one that comes in and saves the day on it. And it was like, this is so good. I love this show.
I love how he went to tell Stark what's going on. And of course, a fight ensues, and he's basically said, "So you're here to say the word?" He says, "No, I don't get my hands dirty. That's why I'll leave that up to you." So Doom wants to say the word. Said these Skrulls can't have it. It's mine. But he didn't want to get into the fight. He just says, "You go do it. You and your stupid superheroes. You go take care of them. I'm not going to bother. I'll let you guys handle it." But he gave them the key to stop the invasion. God, it was so good.
Yeah. Oh, and Kang the Conqueror. Yeah. Oh, geez. I could go on about every episode. This show was so good. Even when they did the Kree Century episode.
Yes.
It just never got bad. This show never got bad. It seemed like any time that was starting to slow down, they would have an episode that just blow your socks off, and you just be like, why can't everything be this? First of all, it was intelligently done to where, like you said, this is an all ages show because an adult can watch this show and it's not talking down to them at all, but it's also geared for kids. So there's nobody that you can put anybody in front of the television to watch this, and there should be some enjoyment of some sort, unless you just have something against animation.
Yeah,
which I know people out there are like that, but if you like superhero animation, outside of maybe Batman the animated series, it really doesn't get better than this. I like this show better than Justice League, and that's saying something.
I think I do too, to be honest. I love it, but I love Justice League, but I don't know, this one, of course, we got a little bit more out of Justice League. That's kind of a thing. There was more to it for sure, though. So it's right up there. It's on the same level to me. But it is those two shows. I mean, they are like a mirror image each other in one respect. One pretty much gives you the Justice League in as great a light as you can get them in terms of storytelling, and this one does that for the Avengers. I mean, both are magnificent that way.
But it really was a stab to the heart to see this thing go away, and then, like you said, to be replaced with something. It wasn't just inferior; it was so inferior. I mean. Yeah, I mean, it was like, the character designs in this are very simplified, but they're that way for a reason, because it makes them easier to animate. And look at what we can do with the animation on this, and you're just like, I don't care what you can do about the animation. You were giving me gold in terms of storyline, and the characters looked like the characters, and now Hawkeye's got a crew cut and no mask and glass sunglasses. And why do I want to watch this when I had the real Hawkeye? Felt like Hawkeye in the old show. It's like, it just hurt me.
I'm with you, man. Hate it. Oh my goodness, man. We'll move on to something. Yeah, we've been on this one. Well, it deserved all the time it got, though. I love it. I'll tell you another show. This might be a curveball to you. I don't know. It may not be a show too. Here's a show I loved that I was surprised that I did, that I would have preferred they do it a different way, but it's another one of those things. I'm a huge, we all talked about it earlier, Hal Jordan fan. Personally, I loved Green Lantern, the animated series. A lot of people, it turns them off. They don't like 3D animation, that kind of stuff. If you'd have asked me and said, what do you want to do? I'd say I'd like it to be 2D animation. They didn't ask, because Green Lantern Emerald Knights, the DC animated movie, is really terrific. First Flight's not so good, but Emerald Knights is terrific.
See, I'm the other way around. I enjoyed First Flight. I enjoyed the hell out of First Flight.
It's okay, but I don't know. There's too much dumb shit in it. Guardians talking like people. You like that one, though? Really? I mean, it's good. I like it, but
it came out at a time where I was in the middle of Jeff Johns in Ivan Rice and Reyes and Ethan Van Sciver were giving me the Sinestro Corps War. So basically, I got year one in the Sinestro Corps War, all in a 2-hour in an hour or 75 minutes. And as far as making it work, I thought I did a good job. Now, Michael Madsen as the voice of
Kilowog.
I could have done without, but I like Christopher Maloney's voice better than I like Nathan Fillion's, and that's saying something, because I like Nathan Fillion as Hal, but I thought Chris Maloney of Special Victims Unit fame, Law and Order Special Victims Unit fame, I thought he did a great Hal Jordan.
Yeah, well, again, we're gonna keep going here, but we're gonna let a new friend pop in here. Mando Mark, how do you do?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, man. I believe in Mark C. Mando Mark C.
How's it going?
But we're gonna keep going on this for a minute here. No, I'm with you. I understand. I liked it. I hated First Flight when I first saw it, but I went back and watched it recently, and maybe it's just I'm softened on things. I don't know, but I like it better now. But I loved Emerald Knights. But I love, and again, this is another one of those things like the shows we've been talking about. The more you love them, the fewer episodes you get. I love Green Lantern animated series.
Unfortunate, but true.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I love. In fact, if anyone else who loves this or any show, I'm going to just come out right now and apologize to you. Because if I love a show, it's dead. It's doomed. Let's say we're sitting around talking one day and I go, hey, Mark, hey, Mando, have you seen this show? I go, yeah, it's great. I love it too. You're going to say, you motherfucker. You just killed it, you son of a bitch. And it's dead.
You're the reason why there's only 17 episodes of The Prisoner, huh?
Well, that was no McGowan wanted only to do 7.
Wait, are you the reason why there's only 6 episodes of Police Squad?
I am that. Oh yeah. See, The Prisoner was supposed to be 7, and he got taught. He dealt down from 26. Luke Grade wanted him to do 26, and then he dealt it to 17. So it's a decent number. I would love 26, but if McGowan had his way, dude, it'd have been 7. Police Squad, I love. And yes, 6 episodes. That one, yeah, you can blame that one on me. I watched it when it first came on.
That was 6 episodes of gold, though.
Oh,
I have a DVD that has the entire thing on it, and it's like, which is not exactly saying much because it's only 6 episodes, but
what the candle that burns brightest
over and over and over.
The candle that burns brightest, dude. But Green Lantern only has 26, I think, episodes. Even today, when I just recently binged it again, I'm not super fond of the 3D type animation. It's not my favorite thing, but the story and the characterization on this show is so good, and I like it. It's fun. Like it's I don't know. It doesn't thrill me, but I love the ship, by the way. And it took me a while to get used to it. Once this thing gets going, the stories are really good. It's not so much superhero stuff as science fiction.
See, I gave the show 4 episodes, and it did. At that point, it hadn't hooked me, not even really. And it was such a slow burn to get going that I kind of just after 4 episodes, I just kind of dropped it and never went back. I've had people tell me you need to go back and watch the whole thing. You'll love it if you watch it. It's just so slow to get going, but once it does, it's awesome.
I've done what that's happened to me. What's happened to you has happened to me on many things, so I'm with you. The Force Forward, they didn't grab me that much either. I see what you're saying. I mean, I was okay with it, but because I like Hal, I said, I'll stick with it. But I was kind of almost out as well. I can name you a lot of shows throughout the course of my life where I early on didn't grab me, but I stuck around. And now it's easier to have incentive to stick around since I don't make anything good anymore. But after it gets going, man, there's so many good stories, so much good character. Like Razor gets on my nerves for a while, the Red Lantern, but I started to like him. Aya gets on my nerves for a while. The android, they made her a very good character. They've got the Anti-Monitor in this. They've got Hawkman in this. They've got all kinds. Not a lot of DC Universe stuff in it, granted, but they even have a Guy Gardner episode. It's good God, the Star Sapphires. If you're a Green Lantern fanatic, it's a different take in the sense that they go out like on a mission out into space. It's not really on Earth that much or anything like that, but it's them going out into space. The Guardians are well handled. They're usually their usual prick selves. But I dearly loved it, and I was, again, really. It's another one of those things like we were just talking about with Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Every time I binge it, I'm having the best of times, and when I start feeling like I'm getting toward the end, I'm like, I'm getting depressed. Because it's about to be over again. God damn it. But it's never really over, is it?
Here's what we'll do. What we'll do is we'll have you watch all these cartoons after they've already been off the air for a few years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
resist the urge to watch when they're on the air.
Yeah. Yes. And then it's not just cartoons. There's a lot of TV shows that I've loved dearly that they found out, and they're like, hey, that fat bitch down in Louisiana loves it. It's toast, man. Toast.
Well, while we're talking 3D animated cartoons, what's your take on Beware the Batman?
God, sucked us. I hated that piece of shit. I tried with that one.
Which one is that the 3D animated one?
Yeah, it came out at the same time as the Green Lantern show.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of 3D animation in terms of TV shows.
Yeah.
I think the only show I've watched that I actually enjoyed that was 3D animation was Transformers Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it had really good animation. But it was made like 10 years before most of the shows that started doing it normally. And if
you want to see cool 3D animation and a Transformers show, check out, it's only 6 episodes, War for Cybertron on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
really good.
I'm supposed to be doing a live reaction of that show on
okay, cool.
my channel. I've been pretty much putting it off for like weeks now because I'm waiting for my friend to be available to do it with me.
Well, Beware the Batman pissed me off because it came out right after Batman Brave and the Bold. It was kind of like they replaced that. That was one of the reasons why we lost Batman Brave and the Bold, by the way. That piece of shit
Yeah.
show. Fuck you, Cartoon Network. Fuckheads. Oh, I hate them, man. How many times have we lost something good to something shit like that?
At least 3 or 4.
I can name another example if we want to jump ahead a bit. Young Justice.
Yeah, that's a popular one. Not my bag, but I respect it. It was okay. You like it? I'm sure you're a fan of it.
I
enjoyed
it. It was good.
I liked the first 2 seasons, but man, when it came back, it was not the same show.
No, the 3rd season. So I watched that when it was coming out, and it just felt different. It was. I think the problem was 3 things. One, there were some politically correct stuff here and there, and there was some like Trump stuff here and there. But that really is like the small problems. The big problems were actually in the narrative. One, it was all over the place. 2, you didn't focus on the main characters, which is the characters that everyone wanted to see and came back for. You essentially had like 3 seasons of a TV show going on in 1 season.
Yeah.
Between the Outsiders with Beast Boy, and then you had Dick Grayson's team and the whole Batman, the League, and this and that. It's like there's too much going on. You need to usually the other 2 seasons had one plot, one storyline, not 3 different ones going side by side. Because then they tried to do the Judas Contract at the same time, and then they try to do pretty much all these different stories at once.
I tell you what, you want to cause yourself some pain on the Judas Contract. You know where I'm going with it.
Oh God!
The DC animated movies, I thought even when they were bad, they were still good, up to the point to where Flashpoint happens, and then they decide, no matter what storyline we're going to do, it's going to take place within this collective DC animated universe, unless we're doing like a really crazy one off.
Right. Red
so we get all these.
Which was also terrible.
Because
I have read.
They turned a really good Superman story into a propaganda piece.
Yeah,
I mean, like a terrible propaganda piece.
Okay. No, I read it once. I only read Red Sun once, but I remember everything in that book because it was really good. And like I was surprised with how good it was because I remember hearing people saying like, "Oh, it's good." Like I'm like, Russian Superman? That sounds like a contradiction in terms. But I read it and I liked it. This movie, and then I saw some of the animated movie by Sailing the High Seas, and the animation's good, but no, it's not the same thing. It's just not.
Not only is it not the same thing, but if you go in and you watch the special feature behind the scenes. With some of the filmmakers and then some of the people when they start talking to academia and then you start saying, okay, I know how this got to be what it was, and you're just like, ugh. And but yeah, the DC movies went completely off the rails.
Yeah,
and it sucks because there are like moments that I really like, but not really. And then finally, at least it's over.
That show potential, but then they just squander it.
Yeah, at least it's over with Apocalypse War having finished. Yeah. It's done.
I will say this for Apocalypse War. The story is kind of a mess, just because like the whole point of the story, kind of like you're just going to like the logic in the storytelling is kind of a mess. But I will grant them this: they had balls. They were willing to show and kill characters and show gore and dismemberment and all sorts of things.
Well, yeah, but I don't necessarily need that in my superhero stories.
I don't know, but I'm giving them props. Like they actually had the balls to do it.
I don't think it took balls.
It would have been cool in an actually good story. Like say if they made like an animated interpretation of the Injustice movie. Like Injustice video game, the story of that game.
Yeah, I would watch it.
To like, okay, we'll do our own take on it in an animated movie. Fine. Because that movie has no characters dying left and right, too. So.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't watch that. I can't stand gory superhero crap. I don't like.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just giving them.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either, because here's the thing. One of my favorite Justice League comics of all time is Alex Ross and Paul Dini's Justice League, the world's greatest superheroes. I was rereading it this afternoon, and it's just like,
great stuff.
Man, is that good? First of all, it's such an uplifting comic book. It's such,
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
every single story is uplifting in it. Like whether it's like the main, I guess like Alex Ross' four favorites, you know, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel. They each have their like uplifting story, and then they have the main Justice League story, and they're just very uplifting. And here's the thing: the story has no bad, like there's no supervillain, there's no bad guy or anything. They're fighting an extraterrestrial virus that just crash landed on Earth, and now it's infecting a little village in Africa, in Congo. It's like that's the whole plot. It's not. There's no like it's not Darkseid. It's not Lex Luthor or
it's a great book.
like an Injustice League or something. It's just a simple thing, and it just they do it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great stuff, though. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Favorites in the animated movies. I really was a big fan of The New Frontier. I thought they did such a terrific job of adapting that one. The first Wonder Woman movie with Ares, I really dug.
Really good.
The last one,
yeah,
Bloodlines,
one.
not as much of a fan of. Even though I enjoy Rosario Dawson as the voice of Wonder Woman, it just and I don't mind the new outfit. It just there's just too many things about it that I could, the Wonder Woman outfit they use for the DC animated universe with the choker collar and everything. It's just I can't get behind.
I don't.
And then
plus they're trying to do the New 52 one, but without the cleavage.
Right. And so I couldn't get behind it. And then the All-Star Superman I thought was really good.
All-Star Superman was good. I've read both the comic and I've watched the movie, and I gotta say,
it was good.
It's pretty much the comic, but with a lot less of the kind of, I guess, like there are stories missing in it, but it's kind of like the same thing of like reading a book adapted into a film.
Yeah, Superman Unbound, the one where they adapt the Superman Brainiac storyline by Jeff Johns in Action Comics. Yeah, I enjoyed that one, but by far, I think the best one that they did was Under the Red Hood.
Yes, it is. It's just,
agreed.
First of all, not only is it the best animated movie I have ever seen, but it is better than the comic book version. How many times can you say that about really anything?
Surprisingly, with today's comics, quite a bit.
Okay, when comics were good.
Well, like you were saying about the Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, they did Secret Invasion. They did that better than the comic books, much better than the comic books. It was kind of distilled it down to the essence of what it needed to be and cut away all the bullshit, and it was a really good story. It's one thing we haven't talked about, which actually started in comic books. And it's had not only one cartoon, not two cartoons. It's now on its fourth version of a cartoon, maybe fifth, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it started in comics. So
cartoon.
Go for it. Go for it. I mean,
I can't stand the original version, which so many people have so much fond memories for. I couldn't get into it. I wasn't a Turtles fan. Surprisingly, I didn't get into a Turtles cartoon until the CG animated one that Nickelodeon did back in like 2012, because I remember reading the old Mirage books. I have them collected. Right. And I'm watching, the CG did such a good job of kind of adapting the stories, and the characters were a little more on model with what was in the comic book, and even though they were CG and there was some goofiness to it, but it's just like they're really doing a good job with this. As much as I may not like the CG kind of animation aspect of this, as far as the storytelling aspect of it, it's really good.
Why am I blanking on the name? Well, I know what the animated movie is. The still film. The name.
But yeah, I gotta admit I never really read the comics of much of that. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I never really read too many of those.
Why am I blanking on the name of this movie? It's a good one.
Well, one of the animated films that I love that you didn't touch on yet was Justice League Doom.
Justice League Doom is my favorite.
That was good.
Really loved it.
Yeah.
Crisis on Two Worlds was kind of okay. I liked it, but I really loved
I enjoyed that one, but Justice League Doom is
that's
I think my favorite
last,
Justice League. And
that's probably the last good one for me for the DC universe.
That was
Right after that, they went to Flashpoint filth and Screw 52 crap, which now they have. The only time they tried to come back and do something was Denny and Tim, or I guess it was Tim. I just said it was a habit. Did this Fatal 5 thing last year or whatever. And I'm a big fan of the Legion, but it was just so disappointing because it was, first of all, you get some of the main characters in Justice League, but Wonder Woman with a sword, I hate that anyway, but you just don't get all the characters. You got to put up with just a few, and you get Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern. Screw that garbage. I hated it. It's garbage, and I was really disappointed in that movie because at least it looked like we were getting a look into the old, JLU, cartoon universe again.
Well, that's like the Batman and Harley Quinn one that they did a few years ago, which was kind of done in the fourth season version of Batman the Animated Series, but that is not Batman the Animated Series. I promise you that.
That was disgusting, man. It was really repulsive with all kind of filthy, sex crap in it. And,
DCAU films, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker.
Yeah, that was good.
That was amazing. Probably one of my favorite performances of Hamill as the Joker, and he's not even really the Joker.
Yeah.
I really dug that movie a lot, and he's
the Joker, but not the Joker as well. Watch the movie; it's good.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of highlights for me after they went to the New 52 kind of era. I Throne of Atlantis, even though I don't like the costume designs, I thought was still a good story. And then they did what was it, a 2-3-parter. It's like Batman and Son. Then it was Batman versus Robin, and then Batman Bad Blood. I thought was pretty cool 3-parter. But I think Jason O'Meara as voice of Batman is decent, but he's no Bruce Timm. He's no Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I thought it was entertaining and as kind of a side thing. I kind of look at like this is dealing with more of the what's his name? God, I can't. Scott Snyder, Batman, in that realm. Then it's like, okay, for what it is, it's an enjoyable period. It's an enjoyable 3-run movie there. I can deal with it, but those are pretty kind of separated out from the rest of the DC realm and just concentrates on being Batman, that you can do that and get away with it.
Yeah, I gotta say though, back to Ninja Turtles, I loved the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon.
It was probably, as far as design-wise, the closest to the comics.
Yeah.
But I thought the storylines from the CG one that Nickelodeon did, the first one they did, well, the one they got now is garbage. But the CG one that they did, I was like, I'm really I did want to like it, but my kid got into it, and so I'd watch it with him, and it was like, this is actually really good. I'm kind of finding myself liking it, and I never really liked the Turtles cartoon before. I always thought they were kind of juvenile and stupid, but this is actually being handled really well. Of course, you can catch little nods to certain things if you know what to look for, because the Turtles themselves were originally a spoof or a parody of Daredevil at the time when they first came out. So it's how well do you play to the fact of what the Turtles really were.
The Foot Clan instead of the hand and the stick.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the title
Splinter.
itself was at that time when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a comic book. This whole title is a parody of multiple trends in comics. There were teenagers, Teen Titans, and other characters that were big at the time. Mutants, obviously. Ninjas were big because of Frank Miller, and then of course, anthropomorphic animals. Turtle was a combination of all the big things in comics at the time. So when I first saw that, that's funny. It was cute, but is that really a comic? It was a funny idea.
Believe it or not, the spoofs that spawned were more fun and stupid and hilarious. Like preteen dirty jean kung fu kangaroos and was
Geriatric
it
jiu-jitsu.
yeah, the gangrene geriatric gerbils, love them.
Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
Yes.
Yeah, they were all. They did them. I mean, those happened. Those comics. That was during the black and white cut of the '80s in comics.
Yeah, you got to remember that all the original Ninja Turtles cartoons were in black and white, and the only color was red.
Yes, it's true.
Bandanas, because they all had red bandanas, and
yes.
Yeah,
and that was only on the covers. That's the only time you really saw it was on the covers. Every now and then they put a splash of red in it, but it wasn't typical to find red in the book.
Red in the actual book itself is for blood. If you hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, under the Red Hood,
man, it's so good.
It was. Yeah, I mean, to take the death of the family of Batman and then to bring Jason Todd back and the reveal, he's going through the file, the videotape, and then peeling it back and getting rid of the sound, and then he hears Bruce instead of Batman,
right?
And then mind blown,
Jason.
And then I was. And even though we don't have Mark Hamill doing the Joker, I think it's John DiMaggio.
They still do the guy doing Batman here still does a fantastic.
It was John DiMaggio. Yeah.
Yeah, what a wonderful Joker voice he did.
And they managed to get the character, like they nailed the characters. Like they nailed Batman, the way they nailed Alfred, they nailed Batman here. I think more than Neil Patrick Harris doing Nightwing.
Yeah. Sean Meyer of
Firefly.
Wound up doing I thought he did a really good Nightwing later on, even though I may not have liked the stories. Him as the character, playing the character, I thought he did a great job as well. In fact, when he was at a convention went to back in January, and he's got all his 8x10s out, and which one do you want him to sign? And they're all like Firefly stuff. He's got this one 8x10. Of an animated Nightwing. And I was like, sign that one. So that's the one I got.
Neil Patrick Harris did a lot of voices for cartoons. He did Flash on New Frontier.
That was it, New Frontier.
And he was the music meister in Batman Brave and the Bold. He was the music meister.
Yeah. And I love the fact that the music meister in Brave and the Bold basically is it's Elton John.
Spider-Man in the Shattered Dimensions video game because there's 4.
Yeah. So he's been around there.
Anything Noir, Ultimate, and 2099. So.
Yep. Cool.
So that's another example of great voice acting. Like they nailed, that's how each of those characters would sound. I felt they nailed it.
Yeah, they always seem to do a pretty good job with the voices and stuff on these things. No question about it.
Under Red Hood, I just love the interpretation. I love the story and how, especially considering how the comic book version involves, Superboy Prime punches reality and blah 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 blah. Versus here, it's just a straightforward. Okay, Ra's al Ghul was behind the Joker, causing whatever at the time, and he felt bad that his actions killed essentially Batman's son, so he tried to return him, and it didn't go as planned.
Speaking of voices, I think that doing a show about cartoon animation, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up Andrea Romano's name as voice director and the person who really, really wound up casting so many great actors in these roles that become the voices have become iconic to us. And then, maybe couldn't. Like Tim Daly as Superman in the Superman animated series, sounded like Superman to me. And then they get George Newbern to do Justice League, and I'm like, well, that's not Tim Daly. But by the time you get through to the second season of Justice League, I was not only had I become completely sold on George Newbern, I couldn't go. It was hard to go back and listen to Tim Daly.
Yeah, he was really good doing it.
And the CGI Turtles show was talking about the cast she got to do that. I mean, Jason Biggs and Seth Green, they traded off, and about halfway through the show were Leonardo, and Sean Astin, of all people, is Raphael, and Donatello is Ron Paulson. Pinky. Gee, Brian, what are we doing this evening? It just. I mean, just the cast that she assembles, and she gets some really amazing people that you wouldn't think would ever do voice acting to do voice acting. And I was really kind of bummed when she retired because Wes Bentley's or Wes, I can't remember his name, Wes Gleason, is not a bad voice director, but they wound up doing The Killing Joke like right after he took over. And you had Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill are so used to Andrea Romano. And this is one where she was really needed because their performances in The Killing Joke, just the Killing Joke part of it. Listen, I don't even want to talk about the Batgirl front end of it. But the Killing Joke part of it, I really thought was some of the flattest performances they ever did. And it was like, wow, it just kind of fell flat to me. Like I wasn't, this should have been Crazy Town from Mark, and I just felt like he was so reserved, and and I didn't feel it from Kevin either. And the only thing I can think of is Wes was so new to the game. I think he'd only done like the Batman 60, one of the Batman 66 and one other one. It was like his third trip out in the DC animated, and he needed more time because I think the voice acting as it went on got better as he got better. But at the start there, I think he was just being a yes dude, and especially to Kevin and Mark. And I think if Andrea Romano had been in there, it would have been a little bit of a different story as far as how much I liked The Killing Joke.
I was so dumb. I went to the theater to see that thing.
Okay, speaking of Batman and Ninja Turtles, well, first I want to say the fighting in Batman Under the Red Hood was awesome, and that line is great. I love that line.
Yeah, RR put up that line like the part where Jason and Todd were fighting.
This and then punches him through a wall.
Told him, "You want to be better than me? You'll never better me this way." Yeah.
One of the things I can say about the later works that have come out of the DC animated is Jay Oliva, who is one of the directors and storyboard artists. Really, really, really knows how to stage a fight. He really knows fight choreography really well, and some of the stuff they did Turtles Batman. They did the animated movie, the two of them together, and the fight work in that movie is really well done, and that's all Jay Oliva.
Yeah, well, amazing stuff.
I also really loved how a lot of Batman versus Shredder moments, there was a bunch of times where he's using his utility belt, but for the most part it's just Batman's skill versus the Shredder skill, and Batman is able to break some of his blades, which you never even see the Turtles do. That. This is good stuff.
Well, I'll tell you. Before I wrap it up, I'm going to cover one more cartoon. I'll read off my top 10, and we'll let everybody get out of it because it's been here a while. I want to talk about one of the things, probably the latest cartoon that I loved. Much earlier, Mark, we were talking about a fun cartoon that made us feel like kids that we love because kids could like it. It's for kids and yet it's for everybody. Which is Batman Brave and the Bold. They did another one. They got under the radar for me for years. I saw everything I would see online because I don't want to see that. It looks like kiddie stuff because it does look like kiddie stuff. And when I show you this picture, you're going to say it looks like kiddie stuff because it does. And they got the costumes wrong. Justice League Action. Aside from them screwing up these costumes and making them look more Snyder movie-ish, this cartoon's so much goddamn fun. I enjoyed it so much, and I just watched it a few months back. It came out around 2016 or so. It was Cartoon Network. There are 22 3-minute shorts, and then there are 52. I don't know what it is with that number. 10-minuters, so they're really short. But it's not all action. It is goofy fun like Batman Brave and the Bold, but it's written with the same kind of wit, same kind of spirit of fun. These costumes piss me off, but no trunks, and I can't stand that. But still, everybody else's costume looks great. Much like Batman Brave and the Bold, they they have all these obscure characters popping up here and there. I mean, James Woods' voice as Luther, Jesus. You have Kevin Conroy. Mark Hamill does Swamp Thing and other voices in it, Joker and others. I can't remember the voices of these of Superman and Wonder Woman, but they're both very good. All the voice works fine, and God damn, it's just so much fun. They had some really fun short stories. They are unabashedly Silver Age-ish, and yet they did a couple. They did a really good Booster Gold one that was similar to the one they did on Justice League. They did a really good Batman one with his origin and stuff. That when he went back in time and saw his early self, they do a lot of funny episodes. But yes, a lot of it's played for laughs in some ways, but other times it's not. It's a total kids show, and it made me so happy watching it because it's just like it's not the kind of kids show that talks down to you. It talks up to kids and to adults who know all these sly references that are in there. They had a brilliant episode that was about the smartest man in the world. They got what Mr. Mind finds the four smartest men in the world and puts them in a competition. It's the Brain, the villain, the Doom Patrol villain, Lex Luthor, Batman, and Mr. Terrific, and puts them in a contest. And it's so damn funny and clever.
Believe it or not, one of my favorite characters on that show, and it's the last time I ever thought he was funny, was Patton Oswalt as the cabbie.
As much as I hate Patton Oswalt, Space Cabbie was great on there.
I have seen one of these shorts, the one with Mark Hamill, the Joker, the
Swamp Thing, and Trickster.
Swamp Thing and the Trickster, yeah.
That was funny.
That was great.
They had a 3-minuter that was it was Flash was Roadrunner, and Lobo was Wile E. Coyote. It was kind of a goofy spoof. That was fun, but they had a great one of the 10-minuters that was basically Felix Faust, and it was Justice League Dark in a sense because it was Constantine and the Demon and Zatanna and who else was it? But it was a lot of fun. They did an episode with Joker and Luthor on like a holiday. Joker's aggravating Luthor. Luthor's James Woods, for God's sake. Firestorm's great on there. All the characters look right, even though it's that cartoony animation, except for the main three. They have those shitty movie-ish costumes, but I still love them. The Christmas episode's funny as hell. Again, goofy, silly kid stuff, and fun and clever. Did you see them all, Mark, or did you just see that one?
They've released a couple of DVDs with a bunch of episodes on them. I have the 2 discs that they released. I don't know if that covers the entirety of the show or not.
It does.
Okay, well then I have them all.
Yeah. Oh, dude! Again, it was another one of those things when I was binging them a few months back, and I'm going, "Oh my God, it's over!" I was really liking this, but it's so short.
I think that was probably the turn off for me was the fact that right as I'm starting to really get into what I'm watching, it's done, and then I got to change gears into something else. And I enjoyed the show.
I like the script story format sometimes, though. I like.
Yeah, I was gonna say my issue, I think more than anything, was the format.
Yeah, I like that though.
But no, the show itself I thought was pretty good. And most of the shows that dealt with more of a cosmic feel to it, and I think Adam Strange was on a few of the episodes too.
And they had one with oh God, it was the Red Lantern cat.
Yeah, the cosmic episodes were probably more of my favorite ones than even any of the others.
Yep, the Red Lantern cat. They had Crypto and Streaky. That's fucking crazy. These guys really loved old comics, and I think it was James. I don't know if it was Tucker involved with this one or not.
No. As a matter of fact, I think this was all Alan Burnett's baby.
It may have been okay.
This is my swan song before I retire. You know, I've got this one idea for a show I want to do, and so this was it. And yeah, I think he did a season, maybe season and a half, 2 seasons, and dropped the mic and walked away. And it's like, man, and it's like, why can't you and Bruce Timm and Paul Dini just kind of be decide on as co-publishers, like the 3 of you, and be directorial on how everything's supposed to go within the DC universe comic books, because
they know the characters, they really do.
Yeah, it's not that it would have saved us from where we're at now with DC, because this was going to happen even if all cylinders were firing and every book they had was selling, 100,000 plus on everything. Okay, there just isn't enough money in the coffers for comic books for them to be profitable enough for AT&T's liking. I mean, they're a drop in the bucket. Even if everything was making, Superbank, it still wouldn't be enough money. But I mean, I mentioned this plenty of times. It's like, Marvel and DC both need to go down to 20-25 titles only. And you know what? Better get used to anthologies, because if you want to see any of these characters in the Marvel or DC universe, then you're going to need to do it as anthologies. But, have your main core titles, your main Justice League titles, maybe a Teen Titans a book of some sort, a Titans book of some sort, and Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, maybe a Hawkman and an Aquaman, and everybody else is probably going to be in a Brave and a Bold or Adventures of the DC Universe or whatever you want to call it. That's a team book with somebody else that somebody wants to read, because there's just right now there's no room for it. There's just no room for it. You can't do 80 titles at $4 a pop and expect everybody to buy. And to the point where it's like, if I can't follow all this, and then you start walking away because it's just too much. I was collecting it started in the early 80s, and really my heyday was into the 90s, and that's when even still then it was only 35 books, and you were paying $2.25 a piece. You could still if you wanted to say I want to read Marvel, you could read Marvel. It'd cost you, but now it costs you so much you'd have to take out an investment every month just to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, man. Well, I'm gonna
$4 to $6 an issue, essentially, which is easy.
Years of Chaos. If you're still here, babe, thanks for dropping by. If not, that's cool. I'm glad you stopped by. And Jobber, good to see you there, brother. All right, man. I'll just read off my quick top 10, and we'll get out of here, because it's just read them off real quick. Man, it ain't easy to make a top 10, but my number 10 will be Fantastic Four cartoon of the 60s, just because it adapted episodes and I loved it. 9, Justice League action. 8, Green Lantern animated series. 7, Superman the animated series. See, I liked it after a while. 6, The Silver Surfer. But if you haven't watched that one, friends, oh my God. 5, Justice League / Justice League Unlimited. All one series.
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited are also just one show. I season 3 and 4, honestly.
Oh, yeah, I love them, man. 4, Avengers is Mightiest Heroes. I'm going to go binge that right now, thanks to Mark, man. He's made me just go crazy over it again. Number 3, Fantastic Four, Season 2 only, the 1996 wonderful version, because it is my happy place. And this is going to be controversial. Number 2, Batman, the animated series. It's everyone else's number 1. I get it, so somebody's got to be weird. But when I read superhero comics or watch stuff like that, I don't know, man. There's something about Batman, the Brave and the Bold as my number 1 that I love it a little bit more. Batman Animated is better, and it is truer to the Batman spirit. You'll never get an argument out of that with me, or with me ever. Just a personal thing. It means more to me because look, I'm 56 years old as of last week, this week, and man, it's been a shitty, horrible week. That show makes me happy, but all the ones on my list do, and there are other ones too that are good. We touched. I think we did pretty much get a mention of most, even some of the movies, animated stuff that has existed out there. We touched on a lot of it, except maybe The Tick. That was a great one, but that's
yeah. Oh, I love
great
it.
cartoon.
I have a Tick T-shirt.
Oh God! Well, yeah, I had the big toy when it came out.
Too,
even though I gave it to my kid.
recently got a T-shirt that says "Spoon."
Spoon. The toy said that. And you got a couple of things we didn't mention because they're like Spider-Man had about 50,000 cartoons and some of the other ones, but here and there. But we got a lot of them in there, and so basically we get one thing we're gonna have to do a whole show on, though, Mark. I'm gonna have to insist. Then it's Fred and Barney Meet the Thing, because that's got to be analyzed to death. It's got to be put to death, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is an autopsy, right? We're trying to figure out what went wrong, huh?
I know one we didn't mention, dude, because you love the 80s Hulk show. We didn't talk about the 90s one.
Nah, it was garbage.
Yeah, but that opening, I love the opening. I love the opening credits though.
Speaking of
The opening credits to the '80s one was better.
I don't know, man. Those opening credits were so cool in the '90s when it showed old. I'm sorry, Mando. What were you saying about?
in the '90s, the Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah, we did. We touched
You guys
on
know
that.
behind the scenes with that, right?
Say again.
You guys know the behind the scenes with that show, right?
Well, what's it got?
Where they had to they had the thing against violence, the studio. So they
Yeah, you're right.
punch anyone or kick anyone. He had to be careful about landing on pigeons when he's landing on rooftops.
Morbius couldn't suck blood. He had to use draw plasma from his fingertips.
Yep.
Blade had to have a lightsaber. But I'm glad you mentioned that show because I forgot something.
Well, broadcast standards and practices were sometimes the friend of the viewer, but most of the time not. However, it's pretty amazing that when you get to like the Batman the Animated Series, of all the things that broadcast standards and practices said they couldn't do, they eventually got away with all of them at least once. Like they actually have villains with Tommy guns shooting straight into the camera. And that's not supposed to ever be allowed. And they got away with it on more than one occasion.
Was another thing. Spider-Man couldn't have actual guns. They had everyone had some kind of sci-fi laser gun. And the biggest thing is, so there was going to be a season 6, but a rival of one of the show's producers became the executive at Fox and had control over whether the show would get a season 6 or not. And out of spite of the producer, she just canceled it.
Well,
so we lost that show because of someone's personal beef with another person.
I hear you, man, but that last season was so fucking bad. Dude, that's what I'm saying. That last season of the Spider-Man show, I mean, a lot of people weren't into the show anyway. Secret Wars, oh, Jesus Christ. They did. I never look, it was always a garbage comic meant to sell toys.
I like the comic book, but all right.
I mean, at the time, I was one of these snobs. I was in my early 20s. I just didn't think the comic was any good. But anyway, in fact, I destroyed my copies. But in the Secret Wars adaptation on that show, you had because it was Spider-Man's show. He was giving the orders. Like he was ordering.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. And this is coming from a hardcore Spidey fan. So.
I love Spidey, but he was giving Captain America and Reed Richards and Iron Man orders. I'm like, dude, shut up. And then it was so dumb. But the last episode, I don't know if you remember the last episode, is one of the most bad, but in a funny way, things I've ever seen. A buddy of mine called me after it aired. He called it The Last Temptation of Spider-Man. He said, "Did you see the last episode of Spider-Man?" I said, "I don't watch that. Why?" And he was working at a comic shop. I got him a job at the time. We would watch stuff over there. It was in New Orleans. He called me to come over to watch it. What do I have to watch this? You got to watch it. You cannot not watch this. And holy shit, is it bad? He meets Madam Web, and he goes to some planet and meets Stan Lee and swings them all over in a web and meets all these other Spider-Man. I can't even remember. I remember we were laughing at it so bad.
Like it was the first ever Spider-Verse. Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, he was Stan Lee's in it. We were laughing our balls off. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, we didn't touch on Spider-Man Unlimited or the futuristic one or the CG animated one that came out about the time the movies did, which was so garbage. Oh my god, it was so bad. Spider-Man Unlimited, I think, had a cool premise, but
it had potential, had a cool premise. Good. It was
but it was too far out for I think the audience at the time, and the CG one. Oh man, that thing was DOA when it first.
I just had a lucid dream when I was a kid, like when I was when I was in high school. I'm like, man, I thought I had a lucid dream once where like Spider-Man was on an alternate Earth, and like all the people were animals, and then it turns out that was an actual cartoon. And I found out, like, wait, wasn't it just like some kind of like acid trip or something?
Alter Earth, you dreamed it into be. Yes, it was really a weird premise. Will Monroe did the. I think the art for it or whatever.
I mean, here's the thing. It was really well drawn. I liked the suit.
Yeah, it was nice art.
It was good voice acting, but it was just not... And I loved the beginning of the story, too. like where it's when it's at back when it's still on Earth and you have him in the classic suit. He's actually married to MJ, but it was.
Yeah.
By the way,
weird.
there was some kind of fan trickery with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, because the reason why Firestorm looked like she did was kind of give familiarity to the audience, add a female, and she was made to look like Mary Jane in her civvy outfit.
Oh God. You know, we did cover all the good stuff though. That's the important thing.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I got to let you go. I got a
All
kid out there who's like, dude, what are you doing back here for on the computer for 3 hours talking about cartoons?
you ought to be ashamed of yourself, man.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
he's old enough to take care of himself. He's a big boy now. So.
I got you. Well, I understand that, man. Well, bro, I appreciate you coming on. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks for having me, man.
Topic. All right, my brother.
All right, talk to you later.
Mark, see you, everyone. Well, how you doing there, Mando? What's going on, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you popped in, man. You know, if you got any other types of topic suggestions we could do or anything like that, I know you do a show as well, I'm sure, right? Is that correct? Everyone, Mando has a channel, incidentally.
Yeah. So I got 2 channels. One's for gaming or just gameplay shenanigans, and then the other one's actually more like of a channel for news and shows and such. So I got a Mando Merc, and then I got Cast in the Shadows. So those are the 2 channels. And I'm pretty sure if you just search them on YouTube, they'll be like the first thing to pop up.
Cool. I got you. Thanks, RR. I appreciate that, bro. And Jobber, I appreciate that as well. Well, yeah, dude. Well, I do. Like I say, this is pretty much what I do. It's not spectacular. I just geek around on a Saturday night, and we're not running with the big boys, you know, or anything like that with all their big fancy live streams with actual, you know, listeners and all that kind of stuff like that. But I sure have fun with it, you know. And I thought this.
Fantastic Four, 90s Fantastic Four show. Whenever I see Ghost Rider, like comic book or anything, that is the voice that I hear of Ghost Rider. I always picture Ghost Rider because if you guys know what Ghost Rider is, he's essentially 2 beings in one. So I always envision him of having a kind of a double voice, but not too much like a horror movie type of double voice, but something similar to like what they did with Venom in the animated series.
Yeah, it was Richard Grieco, actually, strangely enough. He I don't know if you remember, he was an actor of the time, but yeah, it was. I love that show. I mean, the Thing Hulk episode. Jesus God, I watch it over and over again because I'm a Thing fanatic.
For that does not look good. At least still, but
what's that?
I said the animation for that in that. Still,
I love it. I love it.
It could just be that still specifically.
Still blurry, but the animation is, and it's 90s limited, of course. What I love was, every now and then they would show a close up of the Thing's face, and he looks like Jack Kirby himself through it. The animation works fine for me. We have some really cool stuff in it.
Yeah, look at that.
You know, so I'm with you. I love good animation or anything like that, but I'm fine with it if it tells a good story and it moves well. And if you saw the animation for the first series, I don't know if it's the first season. Oh my God, the art from that is stink. I mean, the Thing looks like an 8, and it's really friggin' horrible. The Daredevil episode is great, by the way. Love that.
Also, it's actually one of my favorite episodes on the Spider-Man animated series as well, where Daredevil shows up when they do both his origin and the Kingpin's origin. In that show.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in forever. I'd love to see that one again, actually.
Framed, I believe it's titled. The episode's called Framed. That's just a great show, a great episode of the animated series, the Spider-Man.
You're too kind, RR. We appreciate that, my brother. I'm always glad to see you here, man. But yeah, excuse me.
Which is another I want to bring up what RR said about secret identities. That's the thing you don't see anymore. Superheroes having secret identities.
No, you don't.
Weird, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Like, it's just like how on DC characters, the external underwear has disappeared.
Yeah, and I always called it trunks, not underwear. But I hear you. That's like I was talking about with Justice League Action. They went to movie in that they gave them those. To me, they don't look right with the trunk. The trunks break up the color nicely. You know?
Yeah.
The versa. If you look at it here,
Yeah,
Superman should not, or Batman, they should have trunks while they're covered up.
yep. And this is just a nitpick for me personally, but Batman should always have a yellow utility belt.
Agreed. I like that better too as well.
Unless it's Batman Beyond, but in the case of here, which is Bruce Wayne, that belt should be yellow.
Yeah. I'm totally with that. I like the yellow, and I do like the black bat, but I also don't mind the yellow bat either. Frank Miller got rid of that.
I'm more of a fan of the Neil Adams yellow bat symbol. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, but yeah, they these shows, these cartoons, like we were talking about earlier. I think it was before you got here. Mark said it. He said something that I think about a lot. I would take a good animated series of characters I love over movies any day, and I like the movies. Don't get me wrong. But to see 20-something episodes, seasons,
because they can do something closer to the comics within an animated cartoon, as Shooter's show, and even some of the animated series in the '90s were examples of where that and that you can't do in a movie so much. For starters, look at Cap's costume here. That is, with the exception of the black pattern on the boots there, that's the comic book costume.
Yep. And I love that he did that.
In the movies, for obvious reasons, they have to make the costumes a bit different. And I get that, but the problem is nowadays is they're trying to adapt the movie costumes for the comic books and the cartoons, and it just doesn't work because that's not the comic books. The reason why the simpler comic book costumes work is because in the comic book you can get away with more wacky, colorful stuff, and which is why you have to make things look more realistic and darker, and at least in lighting and such and coloring, in terms of films. It's just the reality that we live in. But when you start mixing them, it doesn't work, and that's kind of what I guess lost translation between bringing thing over from a movie to a comic and vice versa, and they don't get that.
Yeah, you could never get away with this Miss Marvel costume today with those thigh-high boots.
That would actually work in a film, but that's a complete.
I mean, SJW.
But I mean, the costume itself might.
I mean, the SJWs wouldn't like it, and
no,
I wouldn't want to see Brie Larson wearing that anyway. Well, everyone, and Mando, I appreciate you stopping by. We'll need to do one where we can hang out longer, buddy. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us, and everyone who was here, who are either here earlier or still here now. Hey, RR, my good friend, thank you so much. Eastman Burkholder, thank you for being here. Jobber, buddy, always great to see you. Eris of Chaos was here. Lovely to see you. My lovely friend Tony was here with us. D. Oberg, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Great to see you. There were a few other people that popped in, I think, earlier. I can't. A lot of times, please forgive me, everyone, when I get going, I don't look at the chat as much, or I don't see it as much because I'm trying to concentrate sometimes, and I really apologize for that. But I thank you all for being here, and we'll be here next Saturday night, same bad time, set channel, and who knows, I might do some shows in the middle of the week before that. Don't know. But thank you all once again. And Mando, man, it was great meeting you the other night. Where's our boy 24/7? What's he up to? He should have popped in. Thanks, Oberg. Appreciate that.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I'll holler at him. We'll get him back on. He had a good time talking to him before. And Loki, I hope Loki's doing great. And and you hope to see you again soon, man.
Yeah, next time we can, feel free to email me if you ever want to talk about superhero video games, because that's my domain.
Really? I love video games, but I don't really have many.
Well, I can bring the video games, tell the stories, and I guess you can kind of comment on.
Oh yeah.
I'll bring images.
But I wish there were some good superhero games to play. I would love to have one. The only game I played was Madden. I'm sick of that. So.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I brought up Shared Dimensions. It's not just because of the good voice acting, but it's actually a good game. It's a good story. It's very similar to the animated series, essentially when Madam Web brings all these different Spider-Men together. but they're not so much. She only brings them together at the end for a cutscene. It's really just during the game itself, you're all in your own universes tracking down these essentially MacGuffins that you have to collect before the bad guys collect them. And if the bad guy has them, you have to fight them for it. And
thanks, R. Thanks, Oberg. D. Oberg. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jobber. Well, I hear you, man. Well, I'm running, man, and I hope you have a great rest of the night and tomorrow as well.
You too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping in. We will do it again, sir, I hope. Whenever you're able, I guess we'll think of a topic. Like I said, I'm not a gamer. I don't know anything about video games like you do, so it would be much use to something like that. But
so we can figure that out later.
My wheelhouse is comics, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Star Wars, things like that, and other geek shows and stuff. So and movies.
Do like a whole sci-fi show thing if you want.
Oh yeah, do it all, buddy. Well, thank you so much. Thanks again. Thanks everyone. We're out of here. All of you have a great rest of the weekend, my friends, and I will talk to you soon.